Meyer. Batted and intercepted. And it's Wolcott bringing it back. Could he? Wire to wire. Sick'em Bears. How about it?
Welcome to Sick'em 365 Radio.
Jet motion they go with here with Baldwin. And Baldwin breaks free. And the Bears sick 'em.
Sick'em 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
19-year-old true freshman quarterback stepping in for the injured Matt Corral, and then being brought down. Bryson Jackson with the sack and the turnover on downs.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Controlled, reliable, disciplined, determined. That's what this version of Baylor is all about behind that leader, Dave Aranda. They are the All-State Sugar Bowl champs.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Well. It has been a while since all of us have been back in the studio after a few days in New Orleans. It's a new year. It's a new week. Monday, January 3rd. Craig Smoak to my right, Paul Catalina to my left. I'm David Smoak and Armstrong Sims running the mothership today. He and Jack, of course, made the trip to New Orleans by car, came back yesterday evening. Craig and I were on a flight along with Paul from New Orleans to Austin. And then Craig and I, our flight to Dallas was delayed like 3 or 4 hours. But we got in. Everything's nice. And it was nice to just be back in the confines of home after being on the road on and off for about a week or two. But what a weekend. Georgia and Alabama now. I know there's still a couple of bowl games to be played, but Georgia, Alabama are going to be played for the national championship. Baylor men's basketball remains number one, and Baylor football wins the Sugar Bowl late Saturday night. And we were on the air until early in the morning. And the defense, Ole Miss's defense was really good too, but Baylor's running game eventually pounds on them. And 10 sacks, they win the Sugar Bowl. What a year it's been for Baylor Athletics as they finish up 2021.
Yeah, it was an unbelievable night, considering that there was a lot of things that didn't go their way. Look, Gary Bohannon was not 100%, and there was really no passing game, and the offense wasn't very diverse and good for most of the game, but the defense was smothering and really punished Ole Miss at any time that they got the chance to. Double-digit sacks, and Terrell Bernard and J.T. Woods in particular had fantastic games, and probably the biggest win in Baylor school history, winning a New Year's Six bowl in that fashion.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk all 3 hours about just different aspects of that game. Just a little while ago, I was watching clips of Monterey Baldwin's touchdown, his first touchdown in college, comes in the Sugar Bowl.
Give him the lead,
on a little jet, and he took full advantage of that carry. And I was watching Abram Smith comment on it from the post game, talking about I finished my block, he said I finished my fake, and then I looked down and see this little guy running, and he's like, I've seen that in practice, and, just happy for him and wanted to celebrate with him. And then they've actually put out a clip today of Monterey Baldwin's family in the stands. They don't catch him watching the play, but they catch him directly afterwards. So shout out to whoever pulled out their camera phone to see his family with big smiles on their faces, and his mom, who just, I don't think she could believe it. He hadn't scored all year, so why is he going to score tonight in the Sugar Bowl, to take the lead and ultimately, put him over the top. But yeah, that was an incredible atmosphere. I mean, Ole Miss brought it. Baylor fans brought it. And, unfortunately, there is the part of the story where Matt Corral gets injured. But, I was talking to my sister, and she's like, I just hate that everybody's going to say, well, and I was like, well, not everybody's going to say that, because everybody who's watching that game is not going to walk away saying, well, Baylor only won because, if they are, they're stupid because they didn't really watch the game, and they're looking for excuses because they were pounding on Matt Corral when he was in there and picked him off pretty much right away. And look, that probably would have played a different role, but 10 sacks, multiple turnovers. I mean, look, Baylor went out and showed their mettle, and that defense, I put out a tweet yesterday. Dave Aranda's a defensive coach, so like with Lane Kiffin on offense, it took a while for Jeff Lebby to ever get any credit probably at Ole Miss, and that's just kind of how it happens when you have coordinators who have the same background as the head coach. But I had to put out a tweet talking about Ron Roberts yesterday because Ron Roberts did the damn thing. And, you can run down the list of assistants, too. I mean, the job that Dennis Johnson did on the defensive line this year, as much of a question mark as that was, making the switch at linebackers coach when Joey McGuire left and Caleb Collins coming in. How about Kevin Curtis at cornerbacks coach? We probably didn't mention his name all year, really. And he did a tremendous job with those corners, and so on and so forth. Pallage in his last game with the safeties. I mean, J.T. Woods has nearly 3 turnovers by himself. Just unbelievable job by the defensive staff and by those players, and that was their strength all year, and that was their strength on Saturday night. And, just tip of the cap to the city of New Orleans and to Ole Miss and to Baylor. It was awesome.
We're not going to go back over the entire game, but we will hear from Grayson Grunhafer today at 4:30 to look ahead to Baylor's depth chart. We'll also hear from Scott Drew, the number 1 team in the country in men's basketball at 3:40, plus the Cowboys with David Hellman. And Mo Porter played offensive line at Baylor, and his thoughts about how the offensive line this year, with what Eric Mateos and Jeff Grimes did, which was insanity compared to where they were, insane, the difference between where they are, what a former player thinks of what he saw from the offensive and running game.
I have 2 thoughts on Matt Corral. One, the discussion is not going to be if he'd be in the game, he'd have won it. The discussion's just been around his professional decision and how that affects it, and should have opted out. And that is just going to get run through the recycler all the time. It's Matt Corral's choice.
Yeah.
He did what he did. The other guys make the other choice. That's fine for them. It's an individual choice. And
Armstrong, I sent you an email. It's the Kirk Herbstreit, Desmond Howard conversation on game day, whatever that was. I don't know if it was Friday or Saturday, whatever. There have been players who have been hurt. Jalen Smith one comes to mind, and others. But at the same time, most of them don't. Most of them haven't been hurt. And everybody has their own opinion. Unless we're in that situation, we really don't understand or can put ourselves in that position about whether or not players love the game as much or should they opt out. It really, I don't know if there's a correct answer for that at all.
I think Desmond and Kirk sounded like idiots, quite frankly. I think that they sounded like the grumpy old men get off my porch. Well,
we're going to play that in a second.
Okay, we'll go ahead and play it, and I'll rip
so
on
here it's like a little over a minute. So it's a little late. This is Kirk Herbstreit, Desmond Howard on game day. And Jerry, by the way, on the chat room, any discussion today about Baylor women's basketball? Yeah, we will have a note about that or two as well. Don't worry. But here's what started a firestorm. It went viral on Twitter, and Kirk Herbstreit is the one that probably took most of the heat. And then we will take your calls and your opinions and your thoughts about this next. Here it is.
money, like what's the difference as a player in saying these games are meaningless when, Des, we played in quote-unquote meaningless games. I mean, I know you guys were here a lot, but I just don't understand. If you don't make it to the playoff, how is it meaningless to play football and compete? Isn't that what we do as football players? We compete. So I don't know if changing and expanding it is going to change anything. I really don't. I think this era of player just doesn't love football.
That's what I was about to say. We're dealing with a total different mentality when we're dealing with these student athletes nowadays, especially the football players. I mean, their whole mentality right now is about the championship, the playoff. We got to get into the CFB or the CFP. And because of that, they don't value the bowl games. Now, when we were coming up, Herb Street and myself, like to go to a bowl game was a huge reward for a fantastic season. That's what it meant. It's like, okay, your team played this well, so you're going to be rewarded by going to this bowl game. You're going to get a ring. You're going to get swag. Now, kids don't really care about that. They have a sense of entitlement. And it's like, if we're not going to the one that matters, then, it just doesn't have as much value to them as it did us growing up.
I think it.
All right, so that's the segment. We can go about this, and we will. The part where Herb Street said that kids don't love the game as much, and Desmond Howard saying sense of entitlement. Things have changed. Those guys played a long, long time ago. I'm 62. I look at things a little bit differently as well. But your thoughts about that, Craig? And also 254-339-1122 as we kickstart today. Your thoughts, and Paul, you as well, on what we just heard.
All right, so, let's talk about the lack of but first, let's preview the championship game that's 10 days away. Hey, that was a great game by Baylor, but let's take a look at Alabama and Georgia for the 50th time before they play in 10 days. Hey, that was a cute little bowl game, Texas Tech. But first, let's talk about, all they talk about is the playoff. That's all they talk about is the playoff. They skim over the bowls more than anybody. So for them to sit there and talk about, well, they act like the bowl games are meaningless. You guys act like the bowl games are meaningless. You guys act like they're only on there just to fill time until the championship game. So nobody devalues the bowls more than ESPN half the time because they just throw it on there and then they barely talk about it once the game's over with. And shoot, during the game, they're mostly talking about the playoff anyways. Like, it's become too much about the playoff. So now if you're a player, if you're not in the playoff, what does it matter? Like, right? What does it matter? I mean, for the Baylor players and the Ole Miss players, for Matt Corral, I mean, yeah, it mattered playing in the Sugar Bowl because that's a big bowl game and you could make a school record on both sides, but we're basically told that it doesn't matter if you're not in the playoff. So, yeah, the bowls don't seem like they matter as much. So if you're a player who is, a Jalen Smith type or a Matt Corral type, and the Matt Corral thing's like obviously hindsight's 50-50, but, I guess in Matt Corral's case, it made sense for him to play, but there's also a great argument for him to have not played in that game because he's not playing for the title, right? So I think they're totally off base. I think that they're just guys from a different era that don't understand today's era, and they're as guilty as anybody of making it all about the playoff and devaluing the bowls, in my opinion. So ESPN, I think, really needs to look in the mirror and screw you. They've battled more in the last year and a half, these players, than Kirk Herbstreit, I guarantee, ever battled in his college career. With COVID and all the interruptions and transfers and coaching changes and all that, they're dealing with more now than those players ever dealt with. Are you kidding me?
What does it mean they don't love the game? I mean, I like that. I want players to stay in the bowl games, and I hope that there's a way through financial enticement or playoff expansion or whatever to keep them there. But to say that they don't love the game the same way, well, it's different now. And not to accept that is ridiculous. So I think that saying that, they don't love the game as much as we did, I don't know about that.
I'll say this as even an older person, and usually, again, much more, I guess, old school. There are times early on when I started seeing players opt out of bowl games, it got to me. It didn't keep me from sleeping, but it kind of bothered me. And then I realized things change. It's what's happening. Things change. It doesn't mean you have to like it, but I don't think that means you don't love the game. And for every player that plays that could be a draft-eligible player that gets hurt, that doesn't mean they made the wrong decision. If anything, Frank Corral may have improved his draft stock because he did play. I always say that the kicker used to be at the Rams. He may have actually improved his draft stock, and fortunately, it doesn't look like it's a severe injury that's going to keep him from being drafted at all.
All right, I got to interrupt this for a second for breaking news. Caleb Williams, Oklahoma quarterback, has officially entered the transfer portal. That just came down. So There's the big answer to the big question that a lot of people were wondering about. Oklahoma quarterback. This season has been incredible. Words can't describe the amount of love I have for my teammates, coaches, and Sooner Nation. The support everyone has shown me couldn't be more appreciated. You guys are the best. La-di-da-di-da. He even quoted the Malcolm Kelly freestyle, saying, "Oh, you boys, they my brothers, they my friends." And then he said, "I think we all come to college to find our own path and prepare for the future. I came to Oklahoma with a game plan, but with all of the recent changes, I need to figure out what is the right path for me moving forward. According to NCAA rules, student athlete, the only way I can speak with other schools and see who may offer the best prep and development for my future is by entering the portal. Staying at OU will definitely be an option as I begin this process," and says he'll take off a few days to decompress and figure things out. So he's saying he's doing it just so he can simply talk to other schools. But Caleb Williams is now officially in the transfer portal.
Players have gone in the transfer portal. They have also come out of the transfer portal. This looks like to me that Oklahoma needs to put together one hell of an NIL package now, if they hadn't already started on that, and that may not still be enough. 254-339-1122. We started out with Herb Street, Desmond Howard, and what they were saying, and now the Caleb Williams story. Speaking of Oklahoma, before we get to the calls, these are 3 bottles of Head Country barbecue sauce. Josh in Washington State, thank you.
Yeah.
We had this package sent to us, and we have all sorts of packages. He's a huge Oklahoma fan. Josh, with all these pictures of in front of the national championship trophies, Oklahoma back in 57, a story he wrote to us as well. Thank you very much. A lot of you have sent us things over the last months, and we can't thank you enough. And I will absolutely put this to work, because I am going to do some stuff in the smoker coming up this weekend.
Buying a grill this week. So.
Oh, there you go. All right, so great timing. All right, Caleb Williams, and then what Desmond Howard and Kirk Herbstreit said. A lot of this might depend on how old you are or aren't on how you respond to this. 254-339-1122.
Yeah. All right, let's go to Diane in Waco. Thanks for your call, Diane. You're on the Bet US caller line.
Hello, Happy New Year, guys.
You too.
Couple things. One, I'd like that Craig kind of stole it, but when I was listening to Desmond and he talked about not valuing the bowl games, my first thought was, are you kidding me? ESPN is the place that has devalued the bowl game above anything else. In putting all of the eggs in the championship basket, they have belittled the bowl games that used to be great. And they still are great. Don't get me. That was the wrong word. They still are great. I love the bowl season. I love that every team that has earned a bowl berth is able to go out there and finish their year on a high note. But to have Desmond say that was just I was like, what? And Craig kind of mentioned that as well. My main thing on this whole topic is roster management. Roster management is part of team sports. If you need to know who's going to be available. You need to plan accordingly for injuries and for people leaving the team. And if it's just like Ole Miss, if you're a one-trick pony with just a quarterback and you can't play without that quarterback, then maybe losing's what needs to happen, because you don't have roster management in sports. And then just to follow up the Caleb Williams. You think that watching Levy's offense in any way impacted him? Do you think he was waiting to see what happened in that Sugar Bowl to see what his future looked like before making this decision? I do. Anyway, that's it for me. Thanks, guys. Appreciate
Thank
my
you.
call.
Thank you, Diane. As always, from day one, April 6, 2020, our first show. And speaking of the offense that Ole Miss ran with Levy, that's touche with Diane's comment, because Baylor's defense did put down the hammer, no question about it. And Ole Miss's defense played great, too.
Yeah, well, and thank you, Diane, for the phone call and the feedback. And yeah, I think ESPN's done as much damage to bowl season as anybody, because, when we got home from dinner on, I think it was like New Year's Eve, it was it was before the Michigan game, but I can't recall. They were showing highlights, and it was like, hey, here's 10 seconds on this bowl game featuring teams we really don't care about, so let's get them out of the way. But now let's preview the national champion. I was like, the game's it was the night of the playoff. It was SportsCenter after the Michigan game was over with.
Right.
And it was, I understand you reviewed the game that was just played, but then it was like, let's sprinkle in some of these other teams. Okay, out of the way, let's preview the game that we're going to preview 24/7 for the next 10 days. And not the ones that are coming up, But the only ones that are coming up that matter are the ones that are in the playoffs. So those are the ones. I mean, it's just playoff. And so if you're a player at Baylor or Ole Miss, again, I can see where you go, you know what, no, the Sugar Bowl, that's still something. But if it's the GalleryFurniture.com Bowl or something, and you're told, like, well, that game doesn't matter, you're an NFL prospect, yeah, you're probably going, like, should I really risk it?
And if you heard it every year since you were 7 years old.
Exactly.
Which is where we're at now with these guys, especially, or not even, I mean, the CFP's what, 9 years old? Yeah. So, or, 8 years,
something like
whatever
that,
it is. So since 2014, 2015. So we're 8 years into it. Well, when these guys were 13, 14, 15 years old and their college football, fandom and sensibilities are kind of being molded, the place where you get the most of it, ESPN, is telling you, like, hey, the Bahamas Bowl, here's 3 highlights because something weird happened.
Yeah.
That's it. So
but now, here's Alabama and the championship game.
And the reason they do this, and ESPN, what changed ESPN and ruined ESPN was Twitter. Because ESPN can easily figure out how to get the most interaction on something by going to Twitter. And it's not what the world is talking about. It's what it's a very like a small group, but it's densely, populated with these same kind of things that people are talking about all this right now. So we can drive these numbers on Twitter if we talk about this right now. So right now there's this dense little pocket of that's going to drive Twitter. But most of the people in the world aren't on Twitter, don't even have it on their phone, don't even look at it ever. So and the sports fans that are on there, it's just, you're not really doing diverse programming. You're doing a dense little version of what you think is going.
The bottom line is this. Everybody has a right, just like they can transfer whatever else. But to say that people don't have a love for the game, that's so old school. That's out of touch.
Look, if Desmond Howard was in the same position he was in during his Heisman run,
he probably would be one
and he was in the Sofa Bowl against like Texas A&M, and it was just for like your 8th win or something. You think Desmond Howard's going to play in that game? Hindsight, we don't know. He can say, yeah, I would have played in it. He can say that right now because there's no way to disprove it. But I bet if we had a little time machine and we did that, I bet he probably sits out of that bowl game. Why? To protect himself for the NFL. So for him to say that when he would have been doing the same thing most likely, I think it's disingenuous. And Kirk Herbstreit, you wouldn't have had an option to sit out the bowl game because it was never that big for you anyway. So yeah, it's easy for you to say that. You were never going to be a top first-round pick risking millions and millions of dollars. But one thing interesting about the transfer portal, going back to Caleb Williams and Jeff Lebby, as Diane mentioned, I think Jeff Lebby is definitely going to have some conversations, and others already have with Caleb Williams. But Oklahoma as a school has actually come out with a statement from both Joe Castiglione and Brent Venables talking about the decision of Caleb Williams. So that's where we are now, is now you've got like school officials and the head coach talking about it. They talked about him having an exciting and impactful first season, and says we will continue to be engaged with him and his family on a comprehensive plan for his development as a student athlete and a quarterback, including a path to graduation and leveraging of NIL opportunities. While we believe OU provides Caleb the best opportunity to develop as a player and realize his goals, blah, 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 we respect his rights. I mean, this is like the NFL or something.
Would they have done that with the Theo Weiss when he left or someone else? So that's a big story today. No question. Caleb Williams, the AD and the football coach, both responding to Caleb Williams, and they got to put this thing in overdrive pretty quickly. It'll be interesting to see how long it is, but that may be a top 5. Like, where's Caleb Williams? If it's not Oklahoma, what are the other 5 best options for him?
USC.
Yeah, across. Yeah. So
he's got more than that, but that's the obvious one. Yeah, I mean, that's the one that would make the most sense.
And by the way, I'll have a little note about Jackson Player for the schools involved, and a lot of them are right here combined around Oklahoma and the Texas State, and even Arkansas as well. Paul, back to the calls.
All right, Matt in D.C., you're on the BetUS caller line. Thanks for your call.
Hey, thanks for taking my calls, guys. Y'all are spot on with everything as per usual. I mean, first of all, I'll start on the Sugar Bowl. What a game, what a win. It was amazing. I was really angry to our offense the entire game, and then somehow something just clicked because I knew our defense would get it done, and sure enough, they did. Moving on to Kirk Herbstreit and Desmond Howard, I mean, if you really listen to what NFL player locker room say, and I listen to a lot of Pat McAfee, he interviews a lot of NFL guys. I've heard this many times. If you poll an NFL locker room of 53 guys, about 10 love football, the rest play because the money's so damn good. That's just the reality. It's a small percentage that really love the game. The rest do it for the money. And for the Ole Miss quarterback, if he would have opted out, hey, he gave you 4 years, he should have got, now he's going to get paid. I hope he's okay. But if a guy, opts out, that's his decision. If RG3 had opted out after winning the Heisman and doing everything for us he did, I'd have been fine with it because he's got to go get paid, because the end result is the playoff is all that matters, is just because ESPN has built it up to this thing. And Nick Saban said it years ago, all that's going to matter is the playoff, and all the players aren't going to give a damn about the Bulls. And what's happened?
Yep.
Exactly what Saban predicted.
Wish he could be the commissioner of football, too.
Yeah. So, that's just the way it is. And then until you expand it and the way you hype up, the media tells me what I need. You got to have a Lamborghini, you're not exclusive. You got to be in the playoff, you're not exclusive. It's what it is. They're going to keep building it up. So that's what it is. But either way, hey, what I also love about Baylor is every bowl game we've been to the last decade, all the players have wanted to play in it. The culture's there. All the fans never complain about it. We appreciate it. So let's just keep appreciating what we got. Thank you all.
Thank you very much for the call. 254-339-1122. Scott Drew joins us at 340. Paul?
All right. Jeff in Mexico. Thanks for your call, Jeff.
Hey, roll tide, guys.
Roll tide.
I truly believe if you want to stop a lot of this opting out, what you do is, and I know you guys know this, but a lot of people may not, this week the NFL will release players' draft positions. So if we get the NFL to move up like we did with the signing day and release where players would be predicted to be drafted in the middle of December, then anybody with a high draft pick, what we could do is allow the colleges to put an insurance on them so that if they were to get hurt in the bowl game, they would get insurance money. And these bowls also make so much money. Why not allow the bowls to give the top players an NIL deal to also pay them to play in the game?
Yeah, there are some guys who already have insurance policies. Like Lane Kiffin was asked about Matt Corral specifically, and he goes, "Well, I don't really want to talk about his insurance, but yeah, he has it." That's what he said. So I think some of those I know RG3, didn't he have insurance his final year?
Yeah, there's been a couple other players who have had it as well.
There's some guys that do, but yeah, obviously not everybody. But yeah, I think it's going to have to be kind of like you work together to figure this out. And yeah, the NCAA or these schools and NIL and bowl games and all that, they're going to have to figure that out. I mean, NIL's become such a big tool. I think you're exactly right. The bowl games are probably going to have to come up with some sort of an enticement if they want to keep the big players in these games. They're going to have to make it worthwhile. And right now, it's not worthwhile if you're a potential top 10 pick at a school who's not playing for the title to play in a game that you're basically being told is meaningless for everybody but just your school to say, hey, we won. But for you personally, you got to make a business decision. And we're NFL, money, championships. We don't hear about anything else but those things. So why would the players think about anything else but those things? Why wouldn't the players be selfish when all they're told that matters is playing in the playoff or making money or being in the NFL? I mean, if that was drilled in my head 24/7, that's the way I would probably think. And so those guys are thinking that way. And so I think NIL is going to have to get involved to spice things up and be more or make it more appetizing for some of these guys. But some people are going to have to work together to make it work. That's for sure.
All right. Thanks for the calls to everybody. Armstrong, I sent you a picture of Josh. Can you pop that up on the screen? I sent you the text of Josh who sent us the barbecue from the state of Washington. There he is. Josh, thank you very much. Boomer Sooner. And now Josh in Oklahoma. Yep, have to look at what happens with Caleb Williams and going forward with that. So right now Lincoln Riley not only has the Nelson, the kid that signed or is 2023 player, but also the possibility that is obviously one of the locations, or maybe a Miami or maybe Oklahoma. But that's another story, and we'll be able to get to that as well. 254-339-1122. The text line and the chat room will continue to go even during the breaks today.
Yeah, Malachi Nelson's his name, and he's not on campus yet. They got to wait on him a little bit. But yeah, I mean, Caleb Williams is going to be priority number one for Oklahoma now, and for Brent Venables and Jeff Levy. But yeah, Josh, thanks for the barbecue sauce and the cool picks as well. And you're welcome that we followed it up with the Caleb Williams news. Boomer Sooner.
Who other than Oklahoma, Paul, and it's something to bring back in the next break, and Scott Drew will join it, who other than Oklahoma can provide something better for Caleb Williams than Oklahoma, unless it's an NIL deal?
Well, I mean, they're like taking NIL out of it because, I mean, he's going to get that wherever he goes. I mean, look, if Caleb Williams is popular as he is, went to UTSA, he'd get NIL.
Okay.
But
other than USC, which obviously comes to mind.
But yeah, you got to look at schools like LSU, A&M. I mean, like, where can you play with a supporting cast right now that's
better than Oklahoma?
Better than Oklahoma. Not many. I mean, and LSU's might.
I know A&M needs a quarterback, but better than Oklahoma.
Well, and especially since some of those guys are leaving, and then you're looking at their recruiting class right now. So Georgia, maybe
you would. What I'm saying, and my question is, you would leave Oklahoma to go play quarterback at A&M?
No,
Oklahoma.
Yeah, no. I mean,
So there's maybe 5, 3, 2.
I
don't know. The only one that really makes sense is USC. I mean, somebody on the chat room is going to have to give us a better idea and not just like, well, it'd be cool if he played here, but like, no, what would actually make sense?
Some have brought up Clemson. Some have brought up Georgia.
Okay.
Some have brought up Miami, and some have, of course, said Oklahoma and where he is, and USC, obviously.
Miami's better at every single position, or Oklahoma's better at every single position, even the ones they're bad at the Miami right now.
You brought up LSU. I know you're just throwing names out there, but I'm not playing on that roster right now. You seen what that roster looks like? That thing is, Brian Kelly's got some work to do with that roster, and they'll get it done. They'll retool it, but as far as where it stands like right now, they are.
And you're playing 2 years for your Caleb Williams because you're a true sophomore. So it's a place you're going to play for 2 years. So who's going to be good in 2 years for sure?
Yeah. Remind me about the Jackson player note. We'll do that with Grayson at 4:30. Coming up next, he's the head coach of the number 1 ranked team yet again this week in Baylor, as they had the huge win in Ames on Saturday afternoon. They have Oklahoma tomorrow night, and they continue. This week, rankings are out. We'll have that and more. Scott Drew next on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports, and Happy New Year. Discover Woodway, a couple of events that are going on, not in January, but you have time to kind of plan for this if you want. One, and this is really, really cool, a father-daughter dance will be put on by the city of Woodway, February the 5th, 6:30 until 9:30. To the moon and back, a father-daughter dance. So if you're in the area and you would like to be interested in that, you can go, or you are at least somewhat interested, you go to discoverwoodway.com. And then this one that cracked up Jack and Armstrong because they weren't expecting it the other day, the Wolfway Dog Park. Grand opening coming up February the 12th at 10 until noon. That's in February as well. And then later on down the line, there's the mother and daughter brunch. So a lot of things happening if you have a daughter or more in the family. And if you're traveling to Waco and you need a hotel, and yes, Waco has their hotels, but Woodway has 7 of them for you to choose from to be a part of where they are, the Arboretum, the venues, the parks, the trails, and much more in the city of Woodway. And also not far, 8 to 10 minutes, most 8 to 10 minute drive to Balcones, to Silos in Magnolia, to Baylor, and athletic games inside the Farrell Center. It's discoverwoodway.com.
The 2021 Ram brand just received first place in the prestigious J.D. Power's Initial Quality. The Dodge brand finished second to Ram, and the 2021 Jeep Gladiator is rated first among all mid-sized trucks. The Big Finish sales event, only at Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by, let's be friends.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. Even offering financing if that's needed, everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
We will hear from Scott Drew momentarily, Baylor men's basketball coach, number 1 ranked team in the country. Duke, number 2. Purdue is 3. Gonzaga, UCLA at 4 and 5. Baylor has Oklahoma tomorrow. James Akinjo named Big 12 Men's Basketball Player of the Week. 21.5 points, 6 assists, 2.5 steals in a couple of wins. KU is 6. Iowa State's 11. And they legitimized themselves. Now they got to continue to do it with that battering ram of a schedule like everybody does in the conference. Houston, despite the injuries, is 12. Texas 14. And then also Texas Tech in at 25.
And you know, when you think about it, if you're a Baylor fan, I don't know how you could possibly be against the transfer portal. Because in football and basketball, you have benefited greatly from the transfer portal. James Akinjo, for one. You look at Davion Mitchell and go down the list of guys on last year's basketball team and then even this year's team who have been impactful. You look at this Sugar Bowl team, and they're not in this game without Siaki Ika. They're not in this game without Jacob Gall coming in from Buffalo. They're not in this game without Grant Miller coming over from Vanderbilt. I mean, the offensive line was retooled in large part by the hiring of Eric Mateos and Jeff Grimes, but it was also bringing in Miller and Gall to help shore things up, and it was also helped on the defensive line, a big question mark coming into the season. I remember looking at the roster with Grayson, we're like Braden Utley and Garmin Randolph, and even though Randolph ended up as a linebacker, but, looking at him, we're like, man, they're going to have to, I don't know, like on paper, and then here comes Apu, and it's like that was a total game changer, and then everybody else got better as well, and they did a really good job of coaching them up, but Baylor in men's basketball and football in particular, they have greatly benefited cherry-picking certain players in the transfer portal.
Apu allowed everybody else on the defensive line to play where they were supposed to play and not have to – okay, well, you're the best option we have here, even though you'd be better here. And Apu can play where Apu can play. I mean, like that's where he can.
I did the first-round draft pick probably in a couple years.
And remember now, when that news first came out, there were like, okay, why is he leaving? And there was a little bit of maybe thoughts about his motor. And even earlier in the year, he wasn't in the great. I'll take that damn motor to run anything I have, by the way.
There was one game this year where I thought he was kind of out of his depths, and it was very early on, and I was like, man, he's got to get his head on straight. It took him watching the film of that game, apparently, because from
the tip pass against Iowa State, to me, was the match that struck his whatever. Remember that?
Yeah.
Picked it off. He didn't, but somebody picked it off, and it just seemed like from that point on. And it was also about the time he started to get more snaps. And, man, was he was just hard to move, and he was so disruptive. He became – I think early on we saw him taking up tacklers or blockers. Then he started becoming disruptive as well.
Yeah, I mean, they did not give up much against the run all year, and he was a big part of that. And he wasn't just a traffic cone placed in the middle. I mean, he was a disruptive guy, and yeah, he ate up blockers and took on two and three guys more often than not, and then everybody else around him got better as well, and he got better as the season went along. And I'm really looking forward to the next time we talk to Dave Aranda. I got a lot of questions that I want to ask, but one in particular is about the development and growth of Apu, because we know it was almost like a pet project in a way.
Yeah,
that was a personal relationship that had already been built. And you ask, why did he leave LSU? Well, if you'd fast forward a few months, very easy to see why he would leave. Given the coaching change that would occur shortly thereafter, and just the way their roster looks right now with the number of transfers and all that. So. I think, he had a tweet that he put out, and I saw where Apu put out, he's back home finally with family. Probably been a while since he's been back home, but he had put out a tweet that said, starting to think that I'm right where I need to be, and I got a lot of feedback, and I thought that was cool to see because, he could have gone to BYU or could have stayed at LSU or could have gone really anywhere, quite frankly. But he chose Baylor, and it seems like it's been a good fit, and you can't really argue with the results this year. I mean, he comes in, Big 12 champion, Sugar Bowl champion, and he keeps playing the way he's playing. He's going to be a big-time NFL draft pick sooner rather than later as well. So he was a massive get out of the transfer portal, and they are not in that game or any of these games. They're not winning 12 without Apu Ika or any of the other transfers they brought in.
Yeah, and, of course, the 9, I think officially the 9 sacks, the disruptive defense, the interceptions, and much more. And speaking of disruptive defense and speaking of making plays, it's top-ranked, unbeaten, defending national champion Baylor, and head coach Scott Drew joins us live today on Sikkim 365 Radio. So I know you love defense. What about Baylor's defense in football, Coach?
Man, I tell you what, we were excited. The only bad news is our flight got delayed, so we couldn't see the whole game. We were able to see about half of it, though, and everyone was really excited. And you did a great job in New Orleans getting that done for us. So well done, Smokey.
Well, we had a lot to do with it, believe me. Scott, what is defense? Is it mental? Is it physical? Is it a commitment? How do you describe playing defense?
Well, first of all, you have to have players that are athletic enough to stay in front, do their jobs, and execute. Second of all, they have to have the mental prep and desire to learn and to execute. And then third, you have to have a scheme that actually can work. So you put all that together, and Baylor football and basketball have been pretty successful.
Scott, is that the first time in a while you guys have had a flight delay and had to wait out, a nor'easter or whatever you were in?
Yeah. We got delayed in Oregon as well. So maybe when you get a road win and it's a delay, I can tell you after a road win, you can put up with a lot, though. So if that's what it takes to keep getting road wins, flight delays, we will do that.
Scott, the way you were able to handle that day and on the road, and it just seemed like no matter what's thrown at you, you always have a response. Your team just figures it out. And you've said this before, that it's what's been brought down over the last few years, the culture and the leadership or whatever else. But you have a mixture of a lot of young players and also, again, incoming players. How did they learn that so quickly?
Well, I think first our staff deserves a lot of credit for identifying guys that would fit in and buy into the culture. And then the players deserve a lot of credit. You look at Kendall and Jeremy, Dale and James, those are the new guys playing, and the fact that they've listened to the upperclassmen, listened to the coaches, and then obviously they're very talented players as well, but the fact that they picked up things, wanted to buy in, you can call them 5-star guys, 0-star egos, and that's why they've been so successful. So and it's also caring about winning and knowing their roles, and so often coaches struggle to play newer players because they don't know their roles or they don't fit in. And we're really blessed to have guys that do, and thus we've gotten up to the start that we have.
Scott, you get used to playing people and styles, and now with transfer portal and coaching changes, Oklahoma looks a lot different than they did last year. Yohan Cougar is retired, and Porter Moser is there, and of course they've got some different players. What's the biggest change that you've seen from OU this season as they started out great, 11-2?
Well, I think they've added some new players like Iowa State did, and I think analytically, defensively, they were a lot better last year than they had been, and this year it seems like they've even taken another step forward defensively. So you at one point, I know 7 of the top 25 defenses in the country. Ken Palm Analytics were in the Big 12, and OU I think right now is at 31. But so defensively they're really good. Porter's always done a great job in making things really difficult on the defensive end. But at the same time, last year they had a lot of guys who could score, and this year same thing. They're top 5 in effective field goal percentage in the country. They shoot a real high percentage. So we got to do a good job disrupting that, contesting as much as possible, and then players are going to make plays, make shots. You just want to make it as difficult as possible on them. And in the Big 12, it's so important to protect the home court. And I was talking the other day with the Jeff Goodman podcast, and he was like, this year it seems like there's more parity than last year. And I said, I think really what it is you're back to having fans. And when you have fans, it's so hard to win on the road because fans give you so much energy. They impact the game. They impact the officiating, no matter what anyone says. So, it's important to have a packed crowd, a hostile crowd, and a crowd that helps your home team.
Scott, a lot of times when people bring up the transfer portal, they kind of focus on the negative aspects of it. But I was just saying, Baylor basketball and Baylor football benefited greatly. And certainly one of those benefits lately has been James Akinjo coming over, named the Big 12 Player of the Week today after what he was able to do the past couple of games. What has it been like, having James on the roster, just seeing his development, working alongside him, and seeing him getting the honor this week?
Well, it's a great team award, and as you know, when the team wins, people get honors, and hopefully we have a lot more throughout the year. The team keeps doing well, and James is somebody that has been at 2 good programs and learned a lot. But he came in to here, and instead of just being satisfied with what he does and how he does it, he's been open to learning and improving and fitting in with our culture. And that's a tribute to the upperclassmen and everybody on the team and himself. So with that, it's allowed us to have somebody that's been 3 years in the conference, Power 5 conference battles, and he brings that experience, that toughness, that grind to him. He's extremely hard worker, and he's been a delight to have.
Scott, do you feel like that perhaps he could even have conversations with Matthew Meyer, because Matthew was kind of like that young colt that had to be kind of, in a way, methodically understand the system? Would that be a good conversation with him because of what it has made Matthew now?
Well, I think Matt, Adam, Flo, all our guys that John that have been here several years now, Jordan, I think they all do a great job in passing on their wisdom and knowledge. And I think Matt last year, rooming with Jared Butler and Mark Patterson, those guys, Jackson Moffitt, they spiritually really poured into him, socially, basketball-wise. And Matt's done a great job this year in maturing his game, being able to defensively, offensively, and his facilitating part of things. He's always been someone who could score, but his all-around game is improving. He's playing a lot harder. So again, I think everybody, iron sharpens iron, and each day in practice, the wings going against each other with Kendall and Jeremy and Matt and Jordan, those guys battling, it makes them better, and that's something that helps everybody.
Matthew, I know he's talked to us about, sometimes being kind of youthful and stubborn at times in his development and growth, but he does seem to be someone who, when you put him in a situation, he does like to absorb information in spite of maybe being a little bit stubborn. That's kind of unique to have both those sides to your personality, isn't it?
Well, Matt's somebody that has really also embraced the NIL part of things and helping out with the players and understanding. He loves business, loves the stock market. He'd talk all day long to you with that stuff. So he's somebody that has a lot of wisdom in the business side of things, and learns a lot of that from his dad. And somebody that again, we've seen mature each and every year that he's been here, and he gets better and better on and off the court with that.
Scott, you do always learn something, even if you blow somebody out or you win a game, and there's some things that happen that crop up in a game. I know taking care of the ball's always got to be one that you take care of, but there were a couple of things. What do you think the players learn about getting the ball in bounds and some of the pressure? And you have some new type of mixtures there at your guard position.
Yeah. Well, I think you look at it, and I know I've seen some tweets where we're the first team since like UNLV to win a championship, and the next year start out and not have any game closer than 8 points or whatnot. So the game-ending part of things, that was great for us to have an opportunity to be in that situation, learn from it, and from a coaching standpoint, we've learned things, and from that, we've been able to work on some things since then, and hopefully put our guys in better positions, and most of all, just get experience. Kind of like the first time you go to the free throw line. No matter how much you prep it and go over things in practice, it's a little different on the road in front of a packed house, 14,000 or whatever, and you got to execute, and then you got to deal with all of that. So I think each game in the Big 12, you get more and more used to 1-2 possession games, because you have a lot of those in the Big 12, and then also hostile environments, and hopefully home games, we provide that hostile environment for the teams that come in.
You mentioned the leads that you guys have, 8 to 10 points. It seems to me most times when you guys get to 8 to 10 points, especially 10, when you hit double digits, there's a lot of times where some guys will let off the reins because it's 4 or 5 possessions to swap the lead. But that's really when you guys, smell the blood in the water. What's the key to that mentality of double digits? Now it's really time, to put the hammer down.
Well, I think that's our the last couple of years big strength has been our bench, and we call it a starting rotation. I mean, the 8-9 guys that we play, most teams go to the bench and there's a drop off. We go to the bench and get stronger. So I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of teams, when you get an 8-10 point lead, it's the same guys on the court, and they're not winded and gassed, and that's when they make some mistakes, because fatigue makes cowards of us all. But the great thing with us is we're able to keep the pedal to the metal, keep providing the toughness on both ends of the court, and hopefully the execution on both ends of the court, and that allows you to stretch leads. So that's a tremendous blessing to have, and especially during COVID. As you know, you have injuries in the Big 12, and you got to have that depth to be able to withstand some of that and still be able to execute and play at a high level and put guys on the court that can stretch leads.
Scott, one more thing, if you don't mind. Scott Drew, Baylor men's basketball, #1 in the country, Oklahoma tomorrow night. You've started this sledgehammer, is what I call it, of the Big 12. I mean, there's no break. Mm-hmm. Nothing is easy. Can you kind of explain the mental part of this, of knowing that every single time you play, that it's not easy, and there are no gimmies in the Big 12?
Well, I think the best thing is you can just go to the numbers, and we've been the best league in the country, RPI-wise, net ranking-wise, the last 7 or 8 years, and it's not even close. I mean, and it's not because of 1, 2, or 3 teams. It's because 1 to 10, there's no bottom feeders. There are no easy games. There's no a game where you can rest guys. I mean, each and every night you're dealing with talented teams and players, great coaches, great atmospheres, and hence that's why you get 7 or 8 teams out of 10. I know the last projection was 8 out of 10 teams to the NCAA tournament, and we've been by far and away the most with 68% making it to the NCAA tournament in that time period. And the next highest league's at 50%. So again, that's because top to bottom, there are no. I mean, you can say someone's in 10th place, but there's not a big drop off or dip, and you get a lot of that in professional sports. when teams aren't tanking for draft picks.
Hey, thank you for your time, man. I got that as well. Yep, got that as well. Thanks for your time. Congratulations. Did you get in the snow fight, by the way? Did you get in the snow fight?
I got the question before you got the question. All right. So, what was your best meal? And then, how much money were you up? Because I know they said you were doing real well at Harris.
Craig and I did go there on New Year's Eve. Craig, you did okay, right?
I left positive, not rich, but positive.
I don't know.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I know that text I get, that text alert anytime I take money out of the ATM or something is charged to my debit card was going on a lot, though. I don't know if that means.
Scott, I went in the middle of the day, and there were just so many old people there. I thought I can't get here. I don't want somebody to take a picture and be like, he's just given up.
Yeah.
So I didn't do it. But I'll tell you, the best meal for me always is charbroiled oysters at Drago's. Best morsel of food in America.
Oh, that's the best.
Wow. Yeah, that's outstanding right there. What about you, Smoak?
Well, we went to a place I thought was called, what was it, the place we went to for seafood? Boutique or something like that? It actually was pretty good.
Yeah. I can't remember the name, but I'd say the hotel.
There's not a lot of bad ones, are there?
Well,
no, there's not.
Here's another thing, is the hospitality. We were right outside the media hospitality suite where we set up the show, where the media hotel was. And the food that they served us after the game Saturday night, we didn't have time to eat much of it because it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, but it was unbelievable.
Yeah, barbecue shrimp was out of this world.
They had shrimp and grits. They had the prime rib cutting right there. But that might have been, I just didn't have a chance to do much with it. That might have been the best one. It was right there in the hotel. I know that's not what you were looking for, but the one where Paul's mentioned, Drago's, that's about as good as it gets if you have time to get over there and you can get a table.
Scott, if you get us back there, I can give you a tour.
Well, it's good to have you guys back. As far as the snow fight, I don't participate in snowball fights when the wind chill's below negative, whatever it is, and it was like negative 20. So I was on the bus. I think Jeremy got in a good shot on somebody, though. So
LJ Cryer, I asked LJ Cryer, he was in with us on the post game after you had won, and I asked him, I said, did you have your heavy coat? He goes, no, I left mine in Houston. LJ, you got to go get that. You got to go get that.
Yeah, I know.
So,
I know. You could definitely tell we're from Texas when a couple guys walked in with sweatshirts. So. Hey, you guys take care. Thank you.
Scott Drew in Oklahoma tomorrow night at the Farrell Center. Then on the way to TCU Saturday, then back home against Texas Tech early next week. Scott Drew, number 1 ranked Baylor. And then that leads to a little bit later on, we'll bring up the women's basketball team. They were beaten at Kansas State. They've lost 3 times, and it's a little bit dicey for them with their lack of depth and who the schedule has. They have Texas this weekend. They have Oklahoma before that. This could be one, and I know that there's some people that are a little bit concerned about it, including the head coach and Nikki Collins, and we'll discuss that at some point as well. This Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. I told you the story about Carl Campbell and his wife. They came up to Waco during the holidays, not only just to see and visit a few things in Waco as far as shopping and go by the silos and whatever else, but Carl shared me the story about his wife needing an MRI. And the insurance company would not help them with the MRI until they went through a battery of physical therapy. And I'm not questioning who their doctor was or the insurance company, but she wanted to get an MRI, and the doctor suggested it. So they came up here to see Ideal MRI, to get inside that state-of-the-art technology MRI machine that's as nice as anyone you could possibly get inside of, to check what is going on with a muscle or something that hurts, or maybe even a ligament. And they, again, $497 or less. I said, Carl, did they take care of her? Yes. Did everything what I've said for the last several years about Ideal MRI? Yes. There's a logo right behind my shoulder here on my left shoulder. Ideal MRI, one of the title sponsors of our show here on Sikkim 365 Radio. Carl, again, was thrilled. His wife was happy. They got the results, and now they know what's going on that hurts. And again, got an update to have some peace of mind as well. Ideal MRI, $497 or less, and they'll help you with the insurance, and the average is $1,100 for an MRI. IdealMRI.com in the Central Texas Marketplace in Waco, or online at IdealMRI.com.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
American Bank has been serving Waco since 1952, and we're just getting started. Hi, I'm President and CEO Dana Hassel. Over the past few years, we've been busy investing in new technology to give you the best banking experience possible. We've also expanded our downtown branch and built 2 state-of-the-art buildings at our Woodway and Bellmead locations. With bright open lobbies, plus fast, personal, interactive teller machines, everyone in Waco is now just minutes away from face-to-face banking. Visit us today and see how we're invested in serving you at American Bank. Member FDIC.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
The year is wrapping up, sports bettors, but BetUS still has your NBA, NHL, college football bowls, UFC, PGA, and of course NFL betting lines up for their 27th year. Live betting on all of it. Log in to BetUS.com today. Use our promo codes SICK'EM125 for 125% bonus on cash, or SICK'EM200 if you use crypto. So use the 3-decade leader, BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'EM125 and SICK'EM200.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Abram Smith with a good run. Look at Abram Smith. They were pinned at their own 5 after the Mac Brown punt, and he weaves his way past midfield.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Mo Porter went to Marshall High School in the Houston area. He played at Baylor and has been a part of the show a couple of different times. He started a new business. We're going to get to that. He's been in the coaching profession as well. And Mo Porter joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. And when I contacted Mo Porter earlier today, I said, I want to get your feedback. We're going to get some former players on this week to look at not only what the defense is doing and what they've been and who they are, but also what they've done with that offensive line with Eric Mateos and the running game with Abram Smith and company. Mo, thanks for your time. Hope you had a great Christmas and also a happy New Year's weekend. When you watch this offensive line now, what do you see?
When I watch the offensive line now, I see a different type of physicality. You know, they're a different type of O-line that we once were back in there, especially in the Browns area. We're more of a fast type of physical team, but now they're a really true ground and pound, in your face, smash mouth, try to run you over, talk a little trash to you, but doing it in the right way. And that's just something that I used to love watching, especially like seeing the guys that was freshmen when I was a senior, seeing them just transition into what they is now. It's just amazing to watch.
When you look at the guys and where they were 2 years ago, a year ago, and now, what do you think was the thing that gelled it all together that made them, other than a scheme change, that made them be, what they are physically right now?
And, I mean, it's just the players up front. It's just the guys inside the room. I feel like that was just the biggest difference. That them guys finally found them a legit five that was going to be with each other throughout the whole season, and they gelled together really well. And you can just see like how they do their different combo blocks, how much they actually train and practice together and trust one another up front.
Mo, your Baylor career came to a close in 2017. As we know, there's a lot of things up in the air at the time. For you to see what Matt Rule would do, and then obviously left, but then Dave Aranda to come in, and to see all the ups and the downs over the years, to now Sugar Bowl champs, Big 12 champs, 12 wins, first time in school history. As somebody who helped lay the foundation and helped get Baylor through some of the bumpy ride, I mean, just how much did that mean to you as a former player?
I mean, it means a lot. It really means a lot. Like I said, just watching how the guys transition from being snot-nosed freshmen into being actually grown men, doing the stuff the right way, and being able to transition between two separate coaches. People don't understand how much that really affects people. When a coach that came and sat on your couch actually leaves and goes off and doing something else, and to bring a new person in that don't know nothing about you, and you got to trust him, he got to trust you for the most success. And I feel like those guys did a great job with transition. Last year was a down year, but I don't really hold that against them because of COVID. They didn't have much time to be with each other, all that stuff. So when they got together this year, I feel like they had a good game plan with each other. They came out and they said, we're going to trust Coach Randa. We're going to believe in everything he got going on. We're going to get back to the mountaintop. And they did just that.
You have seen the transition before. You've experienced that. How difficult can that be?
It's very, very difficult, especially if, like, the coaches that the coach that sat on your couch and recruited you just left. It really hurts you a different type of way. But if you were prepared for it and you trust the next coach that's coming in, it's not going to be as hard as long as you trust the coach that's coming in behind them. And I feel like those guys really, really, really trusted Coach Aranda this year and believed in his system, and it all paid off in the end.
What do you think of Coach Aranda's demeanor and his intellect and everything that kind of comes across?
He's actually, people might find him as mean, but I actually find him as funny because I've been around the team and I can see that's not him all the time, but that's the persona he likes to put out there. Is a very serious type of guy, so it's funny. But I actually like the way how his knowledge of the game just expands. Like, it's things that he says, and I watched a couple of interviews, I was like, man, I never thought of it that way. And how he, just his charisma with stuff. He's a calm, cool, collected guy. He's not going to be too much all to your face. He's going to be a grown man about the situation. He's going to hold you accountable for your actions. And when it's time for him to turn up with you, he's going to turn up with you.
Mo, what were your impressions of Xavier Newman-Johnson? He was a true freshman coming in when you're a senior. He's been through a lot throughout his time, but I mean, now he's at a point where he announced, obviously his career's over, but he went out as a Big 12 champ and a Sugar Bowl champ. I mean, just the growth that you saw from that young man over the last few years to ending up where he has now.
That's my guy right there, X. Me and him, we go way back. When he was getting recruited, I was the person, walking him around, giving him a lot of visits and stuff, giving him a couple of pointers of what he should do with his commitment and all that type of stuff. And just see his growth. We used to be roommates, actually, on the day before the game, so we just sit there and talk about all this stuff. I try to put him on game and say, hey, right now you get to have fun, but at a certain time you're going to have to start taking this stuff. You got to be very serious, because after a while you're going to be the head dog. You're going to be the person that's going to be taking over. You're going to be the person that got to tell everybody what to do. So to see him transition from a freshman, he didn't really believe in himself a lot either. When he was a freshman, I used to have to talk to him. I'm like, bro, you got it. Like, you might not be getting the playing time that you want right now, but just trust it. Just trust the process. You're going to do it. And then he ended up starting, I want to say Oklahoma my senior year, and he held that starting spot down until now. So he finally graduated. So just see his growth is just amazing. That's like a guy I actually looked to like his little brother. Like, me and him had a lot of one-on-one conversations with each other. So I know where he actually came from, how his mindset changed from a freshman to what his mindset is now.
Yeah, and the coaches said, and even Aranda said, there's been a lot of deep personal conversations, and he didn't get into details, but he said there's a lot of things, confidence and stuff like that Xavier had to work through. So just the growth off the field, I mean, transitioning into how important that is in the way you play on the field, right? I mean, that comes into it. It's not just, go out there and you're talented and you work hard, but there was a lot of personal stuff that he's grown up and changed along the way as well.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely changed along the way. There's a lot of ways, and it's just a blessing to see him just grow up in so many different ways, and to see how him become a man now instead of a little kid.
All right, so I wanted, this program, we know how bad they were for about almost 20 years, no bowl game for 16 or 17. Coach Briles builds them up. He, of course, then leaves in 2016. You were a part of that. They recruited you, that staff. You were at Navarro prior to that. Then you had Matt Rule. Now there's Dave Aranda. And Mo, it might be me, I don't know, we've talked about it among the three of us, is that I see a lot of former players who were a part of even the Coach Briles teams, and then, of course, with Matt Rule. I see a lot of them starting to get more involved again in Baylor football. Do you get that impression as well?
I mean, yeah, because, a lot of people, especially like the Briles guys, a lot of them felt like they wasn't running around on the campus and stuff. How everything was going on, just like a lot of bad blood. I'm gonna be honest. Like, a lot of people felt like they got rubbed the wrong way. How everything was handled. A lot of people just didn't want to be associated. Not saying they didn't love Baylor and everything, but just felt like they was getting done wrong. So a lot of guys, especially like Brian Nance, who works on the staff now, he's trying to tell the players like it's not like that. Come around, like they want you guys around. Like, it's multiple times we got a group message between a lot of former players that he tells them, hey, come up here. Like, it's okay for y'all to come up here. Like, let it go. Like, what happened in the past. They understand what everything went on. Some stuff could have been handled different, but just the team. You got blood on this field somewhat. Support your brothers. Like, everybody doing this for the old heads. These young cats, they watched us play. They don't know much, but they used to watch when they was in middle school, high school. They saw those guys on TV. So to see them come back, somebody they looked up to, that makes them even go even harder. After the games, some of the games I went to, and I go inside the locker room and see the players, like, they didn't expect to see me. I feel like I'm an afterthought, but when I walk in, it's all love all over again. Like, they look up to us. Like I said, those were guys that were freshmen. We were seniors.
I love how Mo at 27, 28 years old can call himself an old head.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I'm old. My body's already 57.
Hey, you brought up Brian Nance. What's it been like to see him become the coach that he's becoming, and the guy behind the scenes and in front of the scenes sometimes as well? I mean, just promoting the team, but also all the stuff that he's doing on staff. I mean, what's it been like to watch Brian's journey?
Brian's journey is crazy, man. Me and Brian go way, way, way back. Mm-hmm. We know a couple people from way back in high school. So me and Brian been knowing each other for a long time. To see his growth, as how he's matured into the role that he has to play. He had to understand what his role was at Baylor, and his role is to like bring all the people back. His role is to promote the team. So just to see him, his growth, especially where he's coming from, you know, his difficulties with him getting put on probation to school, not being able to play football, you know, all his injuries and stuff, our bad senior year. So for him to just keep his head down and stay focused is just amazing to watch. And I know his future is bright because anybody that get Brian on their staff, they team success always going to do better because he's, I don't want to say it too yet, but he's like he got what a Coach McGuire inside him to where he's always fired up about the situation. He's always promoting good stuff. And, you know, he's just happy all the time. He's just happy where he is. And, like, you know, things could always be better, but it's just happy to see that he's happy overcoming everything he's overcame.
Yeah, and you know what's happening is he's becoming now really good on the recruiting trail. He's won some of those battles. He's gotten his first commitments, and it's kind of given him even more confidence. Can you see that because of all he's been through? He played the game, that he would be great to talk to as far as inside of a living room of a mother, a father, a grandmother, whoever else?
Yeah, Brian is a great person. You know, he's from Buffalo, New York, a rough background, so he can relate to kids in that way. He had to go to Hargraves because of academics, so he can relate to kids that way. He had the red shirt almost twice. Like I said, he had the red shirt when he came to Baylor, and he had to sit out another year because of academics again. So he understands the struggle that a lot of kids go through. He understands that, hey, if I can do it, you can do it too. And that's a lot of kids need to understand that at Baylor, you're going to be loved, you're going to be pushed, you're going to be challenged, and being Nance is a product of that. Being loved, being pushed, and being challenged, that the school is always going to have your back no matter what.
You know, it's great to hear from you. I know we're going to get to your primetime security and what you're doing now. It's pretty interesting. Your job was to protect the quarterback or the running backs, and now your job is protecting other people. Tell us about primetime security.
You know, primetime security, me and my friends back home from high school, we always used to discuss about stuff we wanted to do in the future. A lot of people was waiting for me to get done playing football because that was like, they didn't want to bother me with business ventures knowing that I was focused on playing football. So after I finally was retired from playing ball, we sat there, you know, we talked a lot, different business ventures of what we can go through. And we all figured like, okay, this security would be the best way. So me and a couple of my friends, we just, you know, we started off a whim. It was no experience, no nothing. We all just said, this is what we want to do. So we sat back for a while, listened, learned, had actual advice on how to start businesses. And we actually started in 2020, but we all know how that went. As we was going up, 2020 shut everything down. So once that shut down, I had to get into coaching. I had to make some type of way, I had to make some type of money, so I had to get into coaching. And I used that coaching money to, you know, fuel and build capital for the business. You know, we put it all in. Everything we did, we put all into this company. So I was able to quit in the summer and do this full time. You know, we've been doing this. We got 2 branches, one up in Dallas where I reside and one down in Houston where my friends reside. You know, it's just been on an up and up. Like, this is what I do full time. We got about 4 or 5 contracts in the Texas area looking to build up more. I was trying to open clientele. We got different, you know, personal clients, you know, promotions, party groups. So it's constantly growing. It's just something that I'm very proud of because I never in my life thought I would be an actual business owner. Like, this is something that I still wake up and just in awe that this is all just coming to fruition. That's awesome, man. You can hear the excitement in your voice. I mean, you can tell how much it means to you. That's really, really cool, Mo. That's awesome, man. And best of luck moving forward with all of that. Yeah, definitely need to get some info we could tweet out something on that and put that out as well.
Yeah, just text it to me, Mo, and I'll put it up on Twitter. Yeah.
Hey, all right, no problem.
Yeah. Mo, Abram Smith is now the Baylor record holder for single-season rushing yards. He was brand new in your final year as well. He's another baby-faced freshman. I know he redshirted that year, but, I mean, my gosh, man, you talked about the physicality of the O-line, but to see what Abram did this year, his first year back at running back, just how incredible was that to watch that unfold, and then to see, you know, how he capped it off in the Sugar Bowl.
I mean, it was amazing to watch. Honestly, speaking about Abram, when he first came in, Abram was one of our best running backs in his freshman year. He ran as hard as he run now. He was running like that at the age of 17. But unfortunately, I think it was a spring practice. I don't know if it was spring or summer, one of the fall camps. I don't know. But he tore his ACL, and that's what stopped it because he was actually getting like a lot of playing time. Like, Abram was very, like, as a true freshman coming in and running over guys that were seniors and vets. So he's always been a hard runner. It's just that once he tore his ACL, I think he tore it again after that, and then that's when he just started trying to play linebacker to, just to get on the field. We had a loaded backfield already with all those running backs, so he just wanted to get on the field and play linebacker. So when I heard him switch back to running back, I was like, oh, it's going to get real. He's back in his natural position. So I loved seeing him run. It felt like I was in 2017 watching him in spring practice all over again.
You sound happy, Mo. You sound at peace, and it seems like you got through that tough year, the transition. You sound about as happy as we've heard you.
Yeah, man. I mean, things can always be better, but I'm definitely happy with life is right now. Like I said, a couple years ago, I never would have thought that my life would be where it is right now. I do things that I never thought I would be able to do. I go out. I don't have a regular job. I work for myself. I'm able to take care of my family. I can, send money to people in need. I help go out do the homeless. I do what I want to do, and that's just something I always felt like I should do. But I always tried to play football. But once that was over with, I finally got to what I really want to do, and that's be a business owner. I'd like to be my own boss, and not narcissistically speaking, but I don't like being told what to do because I kind of feel like I'm a lot smarter than the people.
Hey, I got to feel that way too sometimes.
Yeah.
I relate to that.
Hey, text me the link, and I will put it up immediately. Mo Porter, thank you, buddy. Appreciate your time.
No problem. You guys have a great day.
I wanted to do that this week, and we'll do it just because I think it's important, and I think we have seen kind of a shift. And it didn't, not just this year, but when they went to the Sugar Bowl even a couple of years ago, because of how a lot of the era of Art Briles to Matt Rule to Dave Aranda, and I saw a lot of former players. They love it. I mean, Bryce Petty's been all in from day one, and Seth Russell and people like that. But, yeah, it'll be interesting if you ever see the Kendall Wrights and others start to get back on this ship as well. And we have seen some of that. And even Ahmad Dixon, during the darkest hours of his life, he was talking about even with Matt Rule and that team in 2019.
Yeah, Matt Rule did a good job and, kind of slowly but surely bringing some of those guys back kind of into the mix. I know Corey Coleman started to kind of come around a little bit with Matt Rule. But, I think the thing with Matt Rule was just there's always that uncertainty of how long is this really going to last?
Yep.
Is this really something to, invest in, or is this something that we get invested and then – typical Baylor, it's gone, and then he moves on. And there was that question once he moved on. But I think now you look at Dave Aranda and the results and just the culture of the program and the health of it, and you have guys like Brian Nance behind the scenes who know what's what. He's been through all those. He's been through every single regime. He's probably the only guy that has been, actually, in some way, shape, or form, or one of the very few. And I think that's great. They need to get these guys involved. Every other program touts their former players, and Baylor's got plenty they can tout as well. And, some of them have been back. And, Bryce Petty's been as involved, it seems like, as ever as far as talking about the team. And Seth Russell's around. And you got Big Mo, and you've got, others. But, yeah, there's always more that come join the party, and the more the merrier. But it's good to hear that Brian's bridging that gap. I think that's really important. And how could you not be a former player looking at Saturday night and not have a smile on your face, knowing what all has occurred over the last few years and the ups and downs? Just an incredible moment for those guys, I would imagine, the same as it was for the current players.
Well, and look, I think part of that also, when you're young and all this stuff just happens to you, you're probably trying to be loyal to the coaches at first. And then I think when you realize the coaches aren't going to begrudge you going back to your school and supporting it, because where else are you going to go? That was you. Like Mo said, you've got blood on that field out there. You did that for that. So that's, bygones be bygones and move on. And, yeah, we've seen a lot of the older players around. Look, a couple years ago, that Oklahoma game, seeing some of the guys, seeing a couple guys I never thought I would see again. And that's a big deal.
Yeah, you're right, because it can be a scar that sometimes you don't want to peel it back, or you don't want to you always want to look at it, remind yourself. Go ahead.
I think it's different now. Times. It's been 6-7 years at this point. What are you going to hold?
And some guys get older and they get more.
Just things change, life changes, and other people come in, and new relationships are built, and all that. And obviously, again, credit to Brian Nance for helping do that. But it's great to hear Mo as excited as he is. He didn't play it down this year, but he sure as hell helped lay the foundation, because he had some incredible info on Abram as a freshman running back, and just his insight onto guys like Xavier Newman Johnson and the growth over the last 5 years for him. So, yeah, great to hear Mo. Great to hear that he's doing well, and we definitely need to push out a tweet on his business, and best of luck to him with that venture.
By the way, the chat room has been mainly focused as we continue with this show, and we'll hear from Grayson Grundhafer in about 10, 12 minutes on the Baylor depth chart moving forward. I had some of you ask about that, and Craig, they do that Bearcast on Tuesdays. Many things Baylor. A lot of it's recruiting, but also moving forward. The chat room is mainly about Caleb Williams, and of course he has entered the transfer portal, and we have discussed that, and we're taking your calls on that as well in text. But Blue Diamond Gem, I love this one. And of course, there's a lot being said on the chat room, and it's always entertaining and very insightful at times as well. And sometimes you need to take a shot at tequila or whatever that other stuff can be. Caleb Williams leaving. This is from Blue Diamond Gem, and this puts things to me in perspective, and sometimes that's good. Caleb Williams leaving will hurt Oklahoma for the next year, 2 or 3, but it's the best thing overall if he does. Oklahoma isn't held hostage anymore with no drama. They can focus on getting a quarterback that is more committed. Now, what I say by that, I don't know if Caleb Williams hadn't been committed or not, but he entered the transfer portal. There's a reason for that. And if he goes back to Oklahoma, then why would you enter the transfer portal? Although we've seen players do that as well. Oklahoma is bigger than one name. Now, he's a bad son of a you-know-what. He's a hell of a player. But just because this leaves that quarterback room in disarray, and just because Lincoln Riley's left, and I understand what that means, Oklahoma, the brand, is still bigger than any one player. Bigger than Sam Bradford, bigger than Baker Mayfield, bigger than Billy Sims, bigger than anybody that's ever played there. But that is a hit when it comes to the talent level in that quarterback room.
Yeah, it's a hit. I mean, yeah, he's a former number 1 quarterback in the country. I mean, he's a guy who came in and saved your season.
But you cannot let one guy.
No, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying, yeah, it's obviously a hit. I mean, it's the star quarterback. I mean, leaving potentially to go somewhere else when you saw what little he did this year in the amount of time that he did and what he could potentially do. I mean, yeah, that's a big hit. But like you said, with the transfer portal, with recruiting, with whatever, you can find another quarterback. He may not be the same type of quarterback as Caleb Williams. He may not be as talented as Caleb Williams, but you can find somebody that can go and win you some football games. There's not just one guy out there that can do that year in and year out. There's plenty. Not enough to go around, obviously, but Oklahoma shouldn't be a place that ever has trouble finding a quarterback.
Yeah, and I'm sure whoever the next best available guy is in the portal will get him. I mean, that's what's good about being Oklahoma. And I do find it a little strange that Venables, of course, it's the new era. Venables and Castiglione had to come out and say, like, hey, we're engaging with him. They're trying to, that's more of that's a business decision outside of Caleb Williams even. That's just trying to get everybody calm down. But look, if the guy wants to go, he's going to go. And it sucks, but that's the new era of college football, because now you've given the players all the rights and they can go find if they think there's a better situation out there for them. But it is, the question you have to say is, better than Oklahoma is a very, very small subset. It's a very small subset of schools. And better for Caleb Williams might just be because he really wanted to play for Lincoln Riley. That was the guy he really wanted to play for, and that's why everybody thinks it's USC. So if it's not USC because Lincoln Riley's been there for 3 weeks and really loves Jackson Dart, then okay, but I'm having a hard time seeing any other situation that really speaks to Caleb Williams at his core as a human being.
Spencer Rattler's not at a better school now.
No.
South Carolina's not on Oklahoma's level in any way, shape, or form. They may be a better team next year for all we know, but they're not Oklahoma. So, yeah, I mean, there's a few spots that he could go potentially, but, it seems like USC or bust, quite frankly. And who knows, maybe there's a surprise in there. Maybe somebody pops up that we're not thinking of. I mean, there's more than just a handful of programs that are on Oklahoma's level, but there's not much more than that. And I don't know how many of them are looking for a quarterback, but USC would have to be the odds-on favorite if he moves. I mean, there's no doubt about that. And look, if you're Caleb Williams, you don't have ties to Norman. You've been there for a year. You could have picked any school that you wanted to. You're not even from the area. It's your life, your choice. And if you want to go with the guy who recruited you and the guy who put Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray and all these guys into the NFL and made them Heisman winners, then I don't fault you for that.
Jalen Hurts was already at Alabama, but he played for Lincoln Riley, and he's gotten a little bit better this year. Don't trust him to be a playoff, but the Eagles might make in fact, they probably will, right? The playoffs. And we'll discuss some NFL stuff with David Hellman today at 5 o'clock. For Matt in D.C., many coaches opted out of their teams in bowl games. I didn't hear Herb Street or Desmond Howard talk about that.
True. Very
Just
good
the
point.
thought of going back to the thought about who loves the game and whatever.
Well, you know
No,
why
they talked about Lincoln Riley and how quickly USC can get to the playoff. Because what does it all come back to? The thing that they're wondering why guys don't worry about playing in these meaningless bowl games, right? Well, you basically made them meaningless because, again, what's the first thing? How quickly could Caleb Williams get Lincoln Riley and USC into the playoff? I mean, that's what they're on to. They're not talking about the other things. That's immediately what they go to.
It wasn't winning the Pac-12 or changing the shift of the Pac-12 or anything else. It was about how quickly they could turn USC or how quickly he could turn USC into a playoff team. I will say this as we break, come back with Grayson. I understand things change, and I there's part of me that wonders about whether a player goes to college now. I know that the education part is still there for a lot of student athletes. Go read Dylan Doyle's tweet today about the leadership in football and academics and much more and others, and what Terrell Bernard said in the postgame. One of the things, though, is I'm getting concerned about where we're going with college football, and is it really college football anymore? The atmosphere we had Saturday night at the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans was incredible. Ole Miss fans were full throttle. Baylor fans were there. A lot of money spent to be there, enjoy it. It was a great game. If you're Ole Miss, you're disappointed. I get it. But I do wonder, do we understand where we're going to be in a year or two in college football? I'm sure it's good enough, strong enough, and popular enough to survive no matter what the rules allow or not.
And there's nobody to blame but the college football officials themselves. They're the ones that landed us here. No one else.
The NCAA.
It wasn't punk 17-year-old kids who don't appreciate playing in a meaningless bowl game. It's not the kids in NIL. That's not ripping the sport apart. That all could have been handled previously. And the older guys, the ones in charge, so to speak, were the ones that just sat on their hands and let this bubble and develop and grow and not do anything about it. And so why are you going to complain about it now? You could have addressed it. You guys didn't want to pay players. You made the government basically say, no, you legally have to allow these players to be paid if businesses want. You fought that. You fought everything as far as mostly benefits. Oh, we'll give them we'll do the stipend thing. The that should be fine. NIL, no. They fought everything. So yeah, it's their fault as much as anybody's. And I don't think college football is being ruined. I just think that when you do have guys like Desmond and Kirk sounding as out of touch as they do, and you have the network that's driving everything, putting as much attention as they are on one single aspect of it, that's as damaging as anything NIL related. Did NIL really tear the sport apart this year in any way?
No.
Did it affect it in any way, really? Other than Texas getting a new O-line, really? I mean, no, it didn't. So there's maybe a couple of examples, but for the most part, it was still college football and just a funny commercial here and there.
It made me really sad on signing day. But outside of that, I think that it just goes back to the college football powers that be. Had an idea on their head of this is the only way that things can be. This is the only way things have ever been. This is the only way that we know how to run them. And instead of saying, well, how do we change things to make it better or to grow and deal and coexist? It was, what's plan B? They're like, no, we barely have a plan A.
Okay, I also want to say this, and I may get roasted for this because I hope it comes out right. We're also in a time where everybody wants something free and everybody deserves things because you're breathing. And I wonder, even if there is some sort of commitment you're making to play college football, you understand the rules when you get into college football as well. When we come back, we'll have Grayson Grunhafer to break down Baylor's roster going forward, including their class and possibilities of transfers, of an update on Jackson Player. No commitment information, but maybe who's involved now as he's about a week away from making that decision and might release even kind of a list here in the next 24 hours. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. Hometown grocery store with a bakery and a butcher shop that's just like the one you would want to go to get specifically what you want when it comes to seafood, pork, poultry, and or beef. And a bakery that bakes fresh baked bread every single morning, and also other sweets and treats and even kolaches as well. And then up and down the main aisles, and there's like 3 or 4 aisles of the grocery store part in the middle, You have something that may be saltine crackers, or something that might be chips, or something that might be Rotel tomatoes, or something that might be pasta, seasonings, and much more, sauces, bottles like this inside Waco Custom Marketplace for whatever you do when it comes to cooking on the smoke, on the grill, the smoker, or even in the kitchen. Waco Custom Marketplace, your hometown grocery store with a bakery and butcher shop at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness continues to add more weapons to your getting or staying in shape arsenal with 8 brand new treadmills ready for you to run or walk a mile or 2 or 10. And with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman, with more courts available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with large flat screens stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available, their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Everywhere you look, there's energy, passion, and commitment. New touchless water fountains outside of each locker room, and all the locker rooms with showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts with a youth academy led by pro Britt Coleman. Fitness and tennis merchandise available and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Masters of Barbecue, kings of crazy good food, and the perfect sanctuary for sports, beer, and barbecue is Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco and also on Highway 84 in McGregor. A menu filled with choices like a great offensive playbook, including 3 meat combos with sides, burgers, and sandwiches, wings, loaded giant spuds, and salads, crazy wings, chicken poppers, big boy fries, and smoking quesadillas, just some of their amazing appetizers. There's Coach Big Ol' Draft Beer, or order Zach's Spicy Bloody Mary or Coach's margaritas and mimosas while watching your favorite team play. Great pecan smoked barbecue, fun atmosphere with attention to detail, including a catering menu, and we'll quote your price to fit your budget. Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco, and walking distance to the great places to shop and enjoy, and also the original location on Highway 84 in McGregor. Great food, great price, great fun. Eat where the locals eat.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. This is it. This is when you're going to sell something in May. You have Mother's Day. You have Easter. You have things that go on, weddings. But this is a great time for your business.
Exactly. And one other thing we do that a lot of people don't know is we buy jewelry, heirloom pieces, gold, silver bars, gold bullion, watches, anything you may have that you want to. If you don't want to use it and remake something like I did in a state yesterday, and I looked at 35 pieces, well, they're probably going to sell me back 30 because it's something they're not going to wear, nothing to use. So if you're looking to get a few bucks or to sell something or something you just don't wear anymore, I make my wife go through her jewelry box about every 6 to 8 months, and the things that she doesn't wear on a daily basis, this sounds horrible, but I take away from her and then I'll put in my estate counter, but then that gives me the chance to rebuy her something new moving forward. Instead of looking down 20 years down the road and you have 300 pieces of jewelry, it's something to refresh and make her buy something new along the way.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
We'll hear from Grayson Grunehafer here momentarily. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Grayson was with us Friday, most of the time Fridays at 3:45. Grayson and Craig have the Bearcast, the long podcast, full hour or more on Baylor everything on Tuesdays as well. But I said, hey, Grayson, he talked to Cole about this as well. Let's look at the depth chart moving forward. And without going too detailed into like 80-something players, but Grayson, thanks for your time. Let me ask you this, and I don't want to catch you off guard here, but of the players who can come back, but those who have been around a long, long time, is there anybody you know for sure that you think is coming back that probably, if they wanted to, could leave, but they have eligibility remaining?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a few guys like that where you look and go, okay, maybe there's a chance this guy comes back. But it's still one of those things that's still going to be a legit decision. So, for instance, Connor Galvin, he's been around a long time. He's a guy who's been really, really impactful for Baylor football. And he's also a guy who just won Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year, so on Offensive Lineman of the Year. So, I mean, you think about it and you go, okay, this is probably a great chance for him to go to the NFL, but he could decide that, hey, maybe another year in the wide zone offense gives me even more of a chance to get drafted even higher. So he's a guy that has a decision to make. Two guys next to him on the offensive line, Grant Miller and Jacob Gall, haven't been at Baylor as long, but they have decisions to make as well. Khalil Keith, another guy with a decision. So 4 offensive linemen with major decisions to make. And obviously, if you kind of look at the transfer portal, which I know we're going to talk about, those are 4 massive decisions for Baylor, because if those guys start to leave and start to make decisions to go to the NFL, that makes things a little bit more complicated with the transfer portal, as they'll probably have to look at trying to replace some of those offensive linemen. Some other guys to keep an eye on, R.J. Sneed, he has not made a decision yet. He's a senior. He could leave. He could decide to go to the NFL, or he could use that COVID year and come back for another season. Tyquan Thornton technically could come back as well. The expectation for him, though, is that he's probably going to go to the NFL after his fantastic season this past year. So, I mean, there's a lot of guys with decisions to make. As we found out today, Kalen Barnes is going to go ahead and put his name in the NFL draft. J.T. Woods already accepted a Senior Bowl invite, so he's already gone as well. So I think those are some of the decisions that have already been made, but there's still some out there that could swing in Baylor's favor.
Position-wise, would you say that wide receiver and linebacker will probably be the hardest one hit, and the ones that we really don't know what we'll see starter-wise coming out of that once we get to the spring?
Yeah, I would think that those are some positions that are going to be up in the air for sure. I think linebacker is actually a really interesting one, because they haven't really made a huge push so far in the transfer portal to offer linebackers, and it almost makes me feel like they're comfortable with the depth they have on the roster. Now, obviously, you're going to have to find a way to replace Jalen Petrie and Terrell Bernard, which will not be easy. But a guy like Lorando Johnson got a lot of time at the star position this year, and the thought is that he'll probably be ready to step into that role come next season. And the will linebacker spot is just an interesting one, because there's a lot of young names. Will Williams was the backup all year, but you got Tyrone Brown, who could be an option there. You got Jeremy Patton, who is a guy who could come in and be a very impactful option as well as a youngster. So there's a lot of names that are still going on out there that could be in line for that position. But I think wide receiver is a position they're going to have to address depending on what happens throughout those decision processes. But I would also say cornerback is probably the position that they're going to have to focus on the most in the transfer portal, because I think they need a legit starter from the transfer portal to play alongside Al Walcott.
Grayson, how do you feel about the group of running backs? Very unproven behind Abram Smith, who we know is going to be off to the NFL. Obviously there's guys to like, but how do you feel like they stack up there right now?
Yeah, Craig, that's actually one of the more interesting ones because I think a lot of people are under the assumption that there are some really good running backs on campus, so there's no need to hit the transfer portal. But I actually don't think that's true. Baylor has some room and some flexibility to where it looks like they're probably going to take 5 to 7 transfers, depending on how the decisions go. But that's kind of the number that I think they're playing with right now, and the one that I have in my head as far as how many transfers they could possibly take. So the reason why I say running back is interesting is because if you look around college football, there are a lot of starting running backs that are entering the transfer portal every day. And I think what we saw from Abram Smith this year kind of makes you think this staff would really like a veteran running back in the room, a guy who's more proven, who has gone through the wear and tear of a college football season, because the guys they have on their roster, while very talented and very explosive, Tay McWilliams and Jordan Jenkins, they're young. And I think having a proven commodity might be something that entices them in the transfer portal. But that's definitely going to be a position where if the right guy goes in the portal, then they'll take him. If not, they'll roll with what they got. They have a lot of talent in that room. If Squirrel can get healthy, he'll add something to that room as well. And then potentially Quaylen Jones, too. So they have guys, but I think that could be an area that they end up addressing that might be a little surprising to people out there who follow Baylor football.
Speaking of the transfer portal, Jackson Player, former Tulsa star, and played at Midway's in the portal. And his defensive coordinator is now at TCU. His defensive line coach is now at Arkansas. He's from Waco, obviously the home of Baylor. He has had contact with Oklahoma. I know that based on trading a couple of texts or so with him. I know you're going to – maybe you've had a chance, Grayson, since you and I traded a text or two. We look at the 3-4. He seems to be a guy that can play for any defense, but there are set type of things that you run with the 3-4. Your thoughts about the Jackson Player information?
Yeah, I think when I saw him enter the portal, I immediately thought, man, that's a great fit and a great opportunity for, I think, Jackson Player and for Baylor potentially to get him back in Waco. And I think if you look at his film, I mean, obviously he's a very productive player and has been really, really good for Tulsa. Played the nose tackle position a lot, obviously. Baylor has their starter at nose tackle with Apuika, but I think Jackson is one of those guys who, while he did play nose tackle and while that is his primary position, and I think if he did come to Baylor, he would be the primary backup for Siaki Ika, I also think he can play the defensive tackle spot for Baylor as well, which would be the Gabe Hall spot. So I think he would come in and play major minutes for Baylor. And as we've seen, they rotate so much on the defensive line. They really have, in essence, 5 or 6 starters on the defensive line if you really watch them play. And I really think Jackson could fit really well to what Dave Aranda and this defense are doing. And, I mean, if you're Jackson, I mean, to look and see what Baylor did in the Sugar Bowl with 10 sacks and just a dominating defensive line effort, and the notice and attention that's going to get from NFL people, scouts, people who are watching, it's big. And to play for a guy like Dave Aranda, I think really could do wonders for Jackson in his final year in college.
Yeah, I think Jackson always, knew that he could play at the Power 5 level, and not knocking Tulsa, but, too many people got kind of lost in the weeds on Jackson's height and overall size, and really – he's got a chip on his shoulder, so wherever he goes, whether it's Baylor or whatever, I assume he's going to play for a defensive mind, which is why Oklahoma makes sense in Brent Venables and why Baylor makes sense in Dave Aranda.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. He went to Tulsa and proved that, right? I mean, he had some sensational seasons, probably none more impressive than this year. He was just dominant for them as they made another bowl game, and I believe they got a bowl win as well. So, I mean, they had a nice comeback in the year.
Grayson, any immediate impressions on, just the reaction kind of around the program based on that Sugar Bowl win on Saturday night in terms of just moving forward, recruiting, impressions, things like that, people watching what they did on Saturday night, capping off a Big 12 title with a Sugar Bowl title and 12 wins. What kind of an impact do you think that makes in terms of Baylor and selling the program?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a Sikkim 365 premium subscriber, then you've seen what Baylor has on the what they've done, I guess, as far as impressions go. Because I put up a list of quotes from about 50 players that Baylor's targeting in the 2023 and 2024 recruiting classes, and I mean, they were just raving about Baylor. You got 5-stars in there, 4-star guys in there, 3-star guys in there. I mean, just tons of really, really good prospects who are just raving about the season that Baylor had. And I mean, when you talk about a Sugar Bowl victory, when you talk about a Big 12 championship, when you talk about a team that's probably going to be finishing inside the top 5 this year, I mean, it really resonates with recruits. And I mean, the one thing that is very consistent is that a lot of these guys believe in the culture that Baylor is building, and they believe in what Dave Aranda brings to the table at Baylor and the future of Baylor, and how they just feel like Baylor is going to continue to rise and continue to get better and better. And I think that resonates really well with a lot of players. And obviously, the defensive guys are really, really intrigued by what Baylor is doing. But there's also offensive guys who see the potential in what Jeff Grimes is building. And I know this team wasn't based around their offense this year, but you definitely saw some major improvements with Jeff Grimes and kind of where they're wanting to get to. I think there's just a high ceiling there and a lot of guys that are very interested in that.
If you're a defensive prospect, and I know that other places have their bells and whistles and their glitz and glamour, and I know Sean Bell put this out there late Saturday, and I had something similar to that. If you don't at least pay attention to what you saw with that defense and how they played, physical, intimidating at times, hair on fire, then you're just, I mean, there's a lot of teams that are good and maybe schools that give you a better opportunity to do something else. But, man, if I'm a high school coach and I've got a hell of a defensive player that I saw that game, I think at least I tell my guys, hey, you should at least look at what they're doing at Baylor. And an offensive lineman as well, that Baylor doesn't usually get too many of those blue-chip type guys. And, of course, maybe $50,000 a year would help do that as well. Hey, thanks, Grayson. Appreciate the extra time today.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Appreciate it.
That's Grayson Grudhafer from Sikkim 365 Radio. When we come back, we'll wrap up this 4 o'clock hour. Again, thanks to Josh. These bottles of the barbecue sauce, Head Country. And I had somebody on the text or chat room go, you guys off to a great start, who's tried this before, from the Washington State.
This is from Oklahoma, though.
No, Josh from Washington.
No, but I mean, yeah, Josh. But the barbecue sauce, so that Josh is true to his very essence.
Yeah, it's from 1947.
It's from Oklahoma.
Yeah, and then also I mentioned this, but we had such an array of different type of setups and who was here or not. But Dan and Lori Weingarten sent us a box of chocolate. I still have it in the kitchen. We've been traveling. I'm getting ready to sneeze. But thank you for the long letter about college football, about this show, and also for the box of mahogany chocolate. We appreciate that very, very much, along with all the other things we've received. In 40 years in the business, I think we have, as this group right here, we have had more gifts from you, the listeners and viewers, than I have in 40-plus years in the business, and we appreciate you so much. Absolutely. Starting the new year, looking forward to getting back in a regular routine. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, got a lot of great deals going on right now over at Richard Carr, as they always do, right? Richard Carr is a group of people that you can count on. There's no doubt about that. Right now, obviously there's a lot of supply chain issues across the country. We've been talking about that for quite a while, but there are new cars and trucks arriving almost daily. They're coming and they're arriving constantly. Deliveries of new cars and trucks each week over at the dealership means now it's time to contact Richard Carr and get your name on a new Buick GMC or Cadillac as they're being shipped, and to get them as quick as possible. That means you need to get your name on the inbound vehicle list so you can get your new car or truck as they arrive. Whether it's a Sierra from GMC that's got it all, power for a work site, luxury interior for a drive at night, whether it's the Cadillac models, a variety of different Cadillac SUVs, Buick Encore, the lineup of Buick SUVs. If you're an SUV person, well, they've got a variety in all sizes and price ranges. Call Now, come by now or go online to find the perfect SUV, car, or truck for your family. SUVs in particular, they've got 11 different models and then dozens of trim options as well. So you'll have plenty to choose from if that's what you're looking for. But if you're not looking to buy new, you're just looking to get into something right away, well, they have a variety of premium pre-owned cars and trucks as well. All of them have gone through a 172-point inspection before ever even being parked on the lot, and their aggressive lenders are ready to get you into a car today, as 100% credit approval is always the goal. So go online or come by for a test drive today. And if you're in the Central Texas area, Richard Carr is your local hometown dealership. So give them a chance to earn your business with free oil changes on new cars and trucks, superior service after the sale, and also great prices. Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, owned, operated, and run by loyal and proud Baylor Bears, and they look forward to seeing you at the dealership or in the stands.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. He cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
The secret to living your best life is pizza, obviously. Golden crust made from scratch, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and the toppings, crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, bacon. That's called a dream team. Find everything you need to live your best life and more at Marco's Pizza. Owner Bob Mock has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 superfan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
All right, closing out this 4 o'clock hour, we'll have David Hellman on the Cowboys losing at home to Arizona. And man, oh man, have I heard some whining. We just got flipped upside. What is
We're
that?
upside down.
Is that Jack's drone shot?
I felt that way yesterday after all that travel. I felt like I was walking upside down.
So, Craig, you left like a couple of days before Christmas. Paul, you did as well. So you guys have been in luggage suitcase hell, although it's been great. Lots of downtime, decompression, travel, a lot of great food, a lot of events, being a part of that Saturday throughout the week in New Orleans. But it was nice to unpack and do some laundry late last night.
It's nice to use my own shower.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not like everybody wants to sleep in their own bed, which is great, but I have a great shower that is really second to none, and I've made it that way. And it's been, 11, 12 days since I got to use that. So I've actually already taken two showers.
Take a shower?
Yeah, use my shower.
I like just being able to sit on my couch rather than sitting on a hotel bed or, just watching in a conference room something. Just being able to sit on my couch and flip to a channel I want to watch or something. But, my own bed. Yeah. I haven't been home in over 10 days between where I went for Christmas. I went home to East Texas and then straight to Dallas, and then it was to New Orleans, and then it was so finally got home late last night, and it's been a whirlwind on very little sleep, but I feel a lot better today, that's for sure.
I got to see Woodrow for the first time. He was very excited, although he woke me up 6 times last night to take him out because he's been sleeping in the house alone.
He hasn't pooped or peed since you left.
Well, I mean, he's had people taking care of him. It's just nobody's slept overnight. So now he has the if I feel the slightest urge.
Podcast with a former Baylor quarterback and friend of the show, Bryce Petty, and he said on Caleb Williams, wishing Caleb nothing but the best. That being said, I hope he decides to stay at OU. I was successful as a transfer, but it is not a walk in the park, and the grass is not always greener. I look forward to him becoming one of the best to ever do it in the Crimson and Cream. So in the time that we've had Caleb Williams' announcement that he's entering the transfer portal, as he says, just because that's the only way to be able to talk to other schools, you've also got Castiglione and Brent Venables coming out with, basically a pitch for Caleb Williams, a public, PR pitch, which is strange and different for college football, basically recruiting him and hoping that he stays. And now you've got, obviously former players are going to chime in on stuff, but now Trevor Knight's given his 2 cents as well, and he's hoping Caleb, of course, like most people are, hoping that he stays at Oklahoma. But we will see. It's going to be very interesting to watch kind of how long this takes and what the journey is, or if it's like 2 days from now we wake up and boom, he's at USC, and it was all as simple as it kind of seemed to be to begin with.
From Mark Woods on the chat room, I never thought I would see the day that Baylor is legitimate in a Power 5 conference in both basketball and football, Sikkim Bears. And we've also want to make sure we say congratulations to what Oklahoma State. We did that in our pregame show for Baylor and Ole Miss and also the postgame show. Oklahoma State, Baylor both winning New York 6-day bowl games, beating Notre Dame, coming back from 21 down. That was a great win. We have a lot of Oklahoma State fans who watch and listen. And so if there's something else from the weekend that we didn't grab for you, then bring that up in the chat and let us know, and we'll try to discuss that if we possibly can.
Yeah, I don't know that because of all the days off and then just to travel and then the focus on the Sugar Bowl and things like that. And then also, obviously, like just the glossing over of the bowl games by the ESPNs of the world as well. Like they basically make them feel like they don't matter. So it's like some of these bowl games just kind of get lost in the shuffle. Now, that was not a tiny bowl game by any means. That was a freaking Fiesta Bowl. But I do think that being a non-playoff game, it kind of like the Sugar Bowl, it was of interest to people who it's usually of interest to, or the fans involved, but it does not get the spotlight that it would get otherwise. And again, don't question why guys are opting out when you don't focus on any of these other things outside of the 4 teams. But yeah, that deserves a ton of spotlight. That was a damn good win. That was a program-defining win. That was a character win.
Mike Gundy said it was the best win they've ever had.
Yeah.
And I think most Baylor fans are agreeing that maybe the one Saturday night against Ole Miss was also the same way.
Yeah, I mean, it might not have been bigger in terms of like the emotions at the time, or if you ask Baylor fans like what the most emotional biggest victory was. They'd say like 61-58 was emotionally like a roller coaster and was very fulfilling, or any other number. I mean, the Big 12 championship game was about as emotional as it could possibly get. And
beating OU for the first time.
Yeah,
whatever,
whatever it was years ago. On
Texas in 74.
Sure, you could say a lot of them. But, I mean, as far as just the proof is in the pudding and there was actual concrete results, they are the best Baylor team of all time. Based on wins and based on the bowl win and based on the championship, they are. 12 wins, never been done. Big 12 champs hadn't been done by anybody that wasn't under the Browse regime. By no other head coach had won the Big 12. Now they've done that. I remember when there was a time in the immediate afterwards of just all the chaos where people thought they'll never be back. They'll never be the level that nobody could ever coach them the way that he coached them. He's the only guy that could ever get it done there. And now here you have Dave Aranda, 2.5 coaches later. I say half because Grobe was interim, and he's done things that no one's ever done before. So pretty amazing. But, yeah, going back to Oklahoma State, just gutsy, hell of a win. It's going to be tough replacing Jim Knowles, obviously. Ohio State can't get him there fast enough after what we watched in that game on Utah and Ohio State with those defenses. But, yeah, it should be commended the season the Cowboys had. Obviously came up a little bit short in Arlington, but no reason to feel bad because they should feel great after this year.
Here's a picture of Dave Aranda getting hammered with a Gatorade bath, and look at his face. We saw the picture of him after they stopped Oklahoma State at the inch line. Just
yeah.
He pushed his fist to that was cold for a second.
Yep.
And shook off a little bit of it.
Nuts.
Yeah, players are going nuts. That was cold. That was cold. Went right down to my backside. A little cold. Shook it off his hand. Just keeps walking.
Look at him all. Cole Maxwell's going nuts trying to, come on. And he just.
That's who he is.
Look at he's clenched his fist like that.
It's definitely cold, though. You can tell he couldn't.
Do you think he's more mad because of the cold or the sticky?
Probably sticky afterwards. I would think that probably does get a little. He probably. I didn't take note of the press conference. I wonder if he changed shirts. He might not have. He did look a little drier though. A few minutes later.
When we come back, the Cowboys. David Hellman will join us. We'll get into your chat room. What have we not discussed that you would like to in the last part of the show? We'll do that after David Hellman. That's next on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive in North 9th Street here in Waco. A hidden gem. You can get pretty much anything you want there. Absolutely fantastic when it comes to craft beer. High-end bourbons. Look, if you miss Christmas for somebody and really want to make it up to them and they're a fan of high-end bourbons, look, they've got them there at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Go give them a bottle of Bardstown. Believe me, if they're a bourbon fan and you forgot to get them a Christmas present, or if they got you one and you feel like you need to match it or top it, Bardstown, go get them a bottle of Bardstown. It's there. They've got great selections of Balcones as well. Absolutely everything you could ever need or want at Riverbend Liquor and Wine, and great customer service to boot. And look, if they don't have something, they'll tell you when they can get it or why they can or why the distribution is in a different state or all that. And they know things. They get things in from all over the country at Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from select, choice, or prime, bacon wrapped fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Troy circles Gallup. That's where Prescott goes for the touchdown.
It's time for our weekly segment with David Hellman of DallasCowboys.com.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Back on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports, we're going to go to David Hellman here momentarily. Craig, with a quick college football note.
Yeah, it's a little breaking transfer portal news update. We talked about Caleb Williams earlier, but one of the better players available in the transfer portal, and if you look at like The Athletic, for example, has their top 25, they have him at number 4. UTEP wide receiver Jacob Cowing. After a big-time year out in El Paso, he had a bunch of big schools to choose from that he was deciding from today. And Jacob Cowing, wide receiver from UTEP, had well over 1,000 yards and then 7 touchdowns as well, nearly 1,400 yards on 70 catches. He is going to Arizona. So Jacob Cowing going to Arizona, which I believe is where he's originally from. I think he might be an Arizona native, so that makes sense there. And, he'll have plenty of eligibility left, I believe.
Cowboys have a game left to Philadelphia, and I'm not sure exactly what they'll do as far as who will play. I know there's still something on the line, but yesterday they blew a tire against Arizona. There's been a lot of different reasons why. Bottom line is Arizona came in, won the game. Kyler Murray's never lost. I know people are tired of that in that stadium, and they might play each other in 2 weeks. David, they blew a tire when they had a chance to host a second and third round game. I know they're going to still play a game at home. How disappointing was that part where you let things get out of your control on home games in the postseason?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly one of the more deflating losses of the season and one of the more deflating losses in recent memory, in my opinion, just because for the most part, they've played so well at home this year. And listen, I mean, that's a really good Arizona team, but also a very banged up one. I mean, they came into that game without their best running back in James Conner. They were down a couple cornerbacks. And the Cowboys just couldn't take advantage, particularly on offense. I mean, I know they haven't been playing good teams, but we kind of had seen this offense kind of round into better form, and they just
reverted back to a lot of the same ugly stuff we had gotten used to. And technically the 2 and 3 seeds are sort of still available to them, but they blew a massive opportunity to maybe even host the entire playoffs, depending on how things shook out. So, it's a huge missed opportunity for sure.
David, a lot's been made of the penalties. That game had the flow feel of it, kind of like the Raiders game, where there were so many penalties, and the Cowboys really made those penalties count. They didn't get a holding penalty, when they got a 2-yard gain. They got one of them. Zeke Elliott's had his best run in 3 weeks, comes back for holding and all that. But how much of those penalties were ticky-tack penalties, and how much of that is just the Cowboys, and that's one of their things, they get sloppy with penalties?
Yeah, I made this note earlier today. I don't remember a team ever expressing its frustration with the officiating. Even after the Thanksgiving game, I'm not sure that they were that vocal about being mad at the referees. My thing is, this is the most penalized team in the NFL all year, and they made a bunch of comments of we've just gotten used to this, and I'm like, okay, well, if you know you're the most penalized team and you know that refs are probably looking for it, maybe you should fix it instead of just being frustrated with the refs. It was an annoying game to watch. It was very stop and go, but I think the final tally on flags was 10 for Dallas and 7 for Arizona. Cowboys had several flags bail them out on Arizona's scoring drives. So I'm not trying to hear that the flag screwed the Cowboys over. Maybe they should focus on playing a cleaner football game.
David,
my God, I loved your answer. Thank you, David, for saying it.
Yeah, no, I agree completely on that. David, the injury to Michael Gallup, obviously out for the rest of the year now. Your thoughts on the immediate impact? And I know that's also led to people already, looking into the future and what that may mean, because, obviously people were discussing that before the season even started. How long will Gallup be in a Cowboys uniform and all of that? I guess in both cases, immediate concern, and then, do you think that plays into his future as a Cowboy at all?
For starters, I'm just devastated for Mike.
Yeah.
He really is. This is his 4th year. He's one of the just brightest, happiest, nicest guys on this roster. He's always in a good mood. He's always affable and easy to get along with. And I've been thinking all day about, all through training camp, we were just peppering the guy with questions about his contract and what the future held for him. And he just always had a really great attitude of it's on me to go out there and prove that I'm worth it, and all that stuff will take care of itself. It's kind of cruel to think this is 2 years in a row. You think about a very similar thing happened to Dak Prescott last year, and now Mike's got to deal with this. I hope it has a similarly happy ending for Mike as it did for Dak. It's hard to speculate. Anytime a guy gets hurt, you assume that it's going to reduce his market value. If I had to guess, on top of that, he already had the calf injury that held him out for half the season. So, it feels kind of callous to say, but yeah, I suppose that probably gives the Cowboys a better chance of reaching an agreement with him, but we'll have to see. In the short term, as far as you're never going to paint losing a starter for the rest of the year as a good thing, but fortunately, the Cowboys have experience dealing with this. They didn't have Mike from week 2 to week 9. Cedric Wilson steps in. I think it'll be as easy as saying you'll probably see Cedric Wilson as your primary slot receiver, and CeeDee Lamb moves back outside with Amari Cooper as well. So like I said, it's not a good thing, but at least it's something that they've had a lot of experience dealing with, and Cedric Wilson clearly stepped up and has made the most of that opportunity before.
Let me tell you something about Cedric Wilson. Paul, you and I traded a text about this. That guy makes plays. I know he's not flawless. I know that there's probably a couple of things he could have done even yesterday, a drop pass or whatever. But for a player who's their 4th or 5th receiver, he seems to do nothing but make big plays. The 4th down conversion, which he could have dropped it. He could not have made. I love the way that guy makes plays.
I said this yesterday. I think if you followed the Cowboys season, you know that he's had a good year. But I think if we got together and spliced it all up into a 2-minute cut up of everything he's done for this team this year, I think we'd all be amazed. The 4th down conversion yesterday, the touchdown yesterday. He had the 73-yard touchdown in Minnesota that sparked them to win that game without Dak. He had a huge 4th down conversion in New England that set them up to tie that game to go to overtime. The list just goes on and on and on, and it's easy to forget how many big things he's done for this team. He's 3 for 3 as a passer this year. He's been fantastic. I mean, took the words right out of my mouth.
David, the game this week could get interesting in that the Eagles have a ton of guys on the COVID list, and who knows if they'll make it off by Sunday, but the Cowboys' playoff position isn't really going to be changed so much by this game. The Eagles' position could be, but not necessarily with a win, plus with their guys. So you could see some resting starters, but how do you expect to see it play out from the way that both these teams approach this game, which is more or less meaningless when it comes to the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, they're both in really similar situations. It's not completely meaningless, but it's out of their hands, really. I mean, both teams would need to win, but then they would both need several other results. I mean, the Cowboys, they basically would need LA, Arizona, and Tampa to all lose to have a chance of significantly improving their seeding. It definitely seems unlikely. Philly really might not have a choice with how they're playing this. I think they put 12 guys on the COVID list today, which when you think about it being a Saturday night game, it seems unlikely that those guys will be back. And even if they are, do you want to rush them into a game after having COVID? So Philly might not have a choice but to be resting guys. Mike McCarthy said just a little while ago that they plan to play their guys and aim to win this game. And I believe him to a degree, but I've also been in a few of these situations before. The Cowboys were in a situation like this with Jason Garrett a couple of times, and it's all well and good to say you're going to play your guys on Monday and Tuesday, but lo and behold, Sunday rolls around, and once you get to the third or fourth quarter, you notice that some starters are kind of starting to not be in the game anymore. So if I had to guess, I think we'll probably see the Cowboys play it a little bit of both. I do think they're going to try to put their best foot forward and win this game, and at the very least, I mean, it would make you sick if you didn't try to win this game and then you got the results you needed on Sunday. So I do think that they're going to try to win, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see them try to play it smart with some key guys as well.
Because of flight delays on the way back from New Orleans to Austin and Dallas, I was able to listen to Babe and Christy and obviously the great Brad Sham, and it's an incredible broadcast. But one of the things that they were discussing was the Cowboys' defense changed who they were by changing their coverage because of the concerns about keeping Kyler Murray from going 30 yards on a run, and also the up-tempo of the Cowboys' offense that they kept discussing as well. Did you see any of that yourself?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that today. It's certainly, I mean, that's certainly as ineffective as the Dallas pass rush has been at any point since DeMarcus Lawrence and Randy Gregory returned to the lineup. So you're talking about five or so games at this point. But that's a double-edged sword, and that's what makes Kyler Murray such a pain to play is it would be great to attack him the way that you attack a less mobile quarterback. And it's easy to say that, well, you're not being aggressive enough. But if he breaks contain or if you send the house at him and he gets away from it, you're probably going to be in for a bad time. It's definitely the worst that we've seen the Dallas defense play in the last month, but I think that's relative. You know, I've said this a few times today. The Dallas defense played a good enough game to win that game. They forced Arizona to settle for several field goals. They really buckled down after halftime and did an admirable job of getting the Cardinals off the field in the second half. I just don't think they got their, they didn't get an equal share from the offense yesterday. And that was the story for me.
Does the result change in any way how you feel this team can succeed, how deep they can run to the playoffs? I know that may lose a home game. That would have been in the semifinals, but does it change in any way how you feel about them?
That's an interesting question because, I mean, in a vacuum, you look at it, I don't feel super differently about, like, the makeup of the NFC. Like, I think this is a field of flawed contenders. You look around, I mean, Tampa Bay, with what happened with Antonio Brown yesterday, they're running out of options in the passing game.
Yeah.
Leonard Fournette's still hurt, I believe. You know, they needed a last gasp drive to beat one of the worst teams in the league. And same thing. I mean, the Rams needed to take it right down to the wire to beat a Baltimore team that is just beat to hell and didn't have its starting quarterback. So I think everybody in the NFC is not without its flaws. And so it's certainly still possible the Cowboys could get on a run, but I don't know how yesterday doesn't affect your confidence that they can, because they were at home against a team that they're probably going to have to open the playoffs against. Not definitely, but probably. And they just kind of wilted in the spotlight again. And the Arizona team, if they come back in 2 weeks, they'll be stronger than they were yesterday. I mean, that was a team that was kind of hamstrung by injuries that the Cowboys didn't have. I mean, the Cowboys are remarkably healthy for a team that's about to end the regular season. So, I mean, anything is possible. I don't want to, I think people kind of get knee jerk and they're like, well, the season's over, but, yeah, I mean, that doesn't affect your confidence.
When was the last time you told me that about 8 to 10 minutes into a game that you said the Cowboys were going to lose the game without it just being you half glass full, empty, that you were wrong?
No, it doesn't happen that often. I can just tell. I'm sure, David, I'm sure the same way, covering this as long as you have. You can just tell, like the Raiders game, I felt they just weren't going to win. Yesterday, there's the Chiefs game, there's too many little things going wrong that add up in the end. That was how I felt yesterday.
I agree to a point. I think in the first half, with the amount of things that just were going wrong, you started to get that feeling. But this is still a team that's talented enough that as long as they're within striking distance in the fourth quarter, I have a hard time ruling them out. I mean, probably Dak's fumble is when I kind of was like, all right, this is what today's going to be. But I mean, when that fumble happened, they were down 8 with a lot of time left to play. So I think that's what makes it frustrating for people is the talent is there that it's hard to say that they're dead until they're dead. But yeah, I mean, everything about that game from the jump yesterday just kind of gave you the feeling that maybe it wasn't their day.
Have you ever seen someone quit a job so spectacularly as Antonio Brown did yesterday?
Good God, what a drama queen. Oh,
I've never seen anything like it. And I mean, it's funny because I kind of feel like really, I mean, the NFL is always going to be entertaining in some degree, but it felt like the month of December was kind of boring by NFL standards. And then, I mean, damn, they made up for it all at once yesterday. I mean, that was all happening while the Rams-Baltimore game was coming down to the wire. The Cardinals game was really entertaining. It just felt like, I mean, wow, the Chiefs-Bengals game was one of the best of the year, and it felt like all of that stuff was happening at once. And I was like, damn, we're making up for lost time today.
I just want to recap. Antonio Brown took off everything but his pants and shoes, threw all that towards into the fan stands.
They're on the road.
On the road. So he had to ask security at the stadium for a ride to the airport. Also, I mean, it's nice to have that kind of money where you can just be like, I'm going to book my own flight and not worry about it later. And
on short notice.
On a day's notice.
It's $1,500, sir.
Security thought that he was like a streaker that jumped in when they first saw him walking in the hall. They thought he was a streaker that they hadn't heard about yet.
It's nuts.
Yeah, I think Antonio Brown has kind of entered into that zone where nothing you could tell me about him would surprise me. Like, you could say anything, and I would be like, yeah, I believe you. I believe that he did that. And that's, hey, I mean, the Bucks took a chance on him knowing the character risk, and it worked out for him last year, but they flew too close to the flame one too many times, I guess. And like I said, I mean, that's something, again, like we're here in our Dallas bubble, and it's easy to be down on the Cowboys, but the Buccaneers are heading into the postseason with Chris Godwin's on injured reserve. Antonio Brown quit on the team. Like I said, I mean, they needed a minor miracle to get past the Jets. So I think if you look around, obviously, I think the Packers are probably feeling pretty great about where they're at, but I think every other team in the NFC is kind of chewing their fingernails, wondering what's going to happen when the playoffs start.
Thank you, David. As always, David Aranda, by the way, I'm not sure you noticed, did a hell of a job for Baylor this year.
Oh, you don't think I noticed? The only thing I like more than LSU football is whoever beats Ole Miss. So I was a big Dave Aranda fan for 4 hours the other night, for sure.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it, Dave. Right. David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com. On Antonio Brown, and I know we got a break because we need to get back and open the chat room up again and the lines as well at 254-339-1122 and update Caleb Williams' story, among others. The thing I'm worried about, the next story you hear about him might be tragic.
Yeah,
No, it is.
That's someone that's headed for that proverbial brick wall.
And y'all's little summary, y'all missed the part where he's basically hanging out with his Uber driver, and the Uber driver, I guess that was the Uber driver that I was seeing doing the TikTok posts or whatever with him, and I was watching that going, this guy's actually enjoying this while this other guy just clearly is a lost individual. And, I do think, everybody points back to the Vontaze Burfict hit from a few years ago, and there's no doubt that whatever path that Antonio Brown was on, it veered after that play in particular. Now, do I think, though, that it's responsible for all of the behavior that we've seen? No, I think he could have just been a piece of trash before that hit, and then it just has amplified it. I think he might be bipolar. I think there could be a lot of things in play. I don't think it's just he took that hit and then all of a sudden he turned into a dude that was just, posting videos of yelling at his baby mama in front of his kids and police officers and yelling at the police officers in front of his kids and telling them that they're the P word and that, basically threatening them to do something knowing that they can't. I watched that video last night and I was like, I don't care if he's bipolar. I don't care if that hit hurt him. That dude's acting like a piece of trash. So whatever's wrong, I hope he gets help for it, but I think it's a combination of things, and I think it's a good chance he was a piece of trash before the hit, and it's just, like I said, amplified it. But either way, I don't wish the worst for him. I don't want him to be some tragic story on TMZ tomorrow of, a suicide or an accident or going off the rails. I hope to God we don't come to that point, but there's an awful lot of people that seem to be enjoying the car wreck and, are basically watching it and laughing and pointing while he's going straight, 90 miles per hour into a wall head on with no seatbelt.
Yeah, and if you look at the Bucs' response to it, a lot of times there's guys who are angry about it. Le'Veon Bell and he are friends, and he said, look, I'm not going to say anything negative about him. I know him, and he's made some bad choices, and I'm going to stick by him, which is, Antonio Brown's going to need here down the stretch. And to be mad at Mike Evans like he was, Mike Evans is well reported to be one of the best teammates you can have in sports. He's one of the best teammates around. Guys love him. The chemistry that he and Chris Godwin have, which is bummed that for the Bucs that Chris Godwin's not there. But yeah, Tom Brady, put his reputation on the line a little bit for Antonio Brown.
Yes, he did.
Bruce Arians as well. They did that for Antonio Brown, and he kind of threw it back in their face yesterday because of his problems. And he needs to work on him. And I think that's the last we're seeing him catch a pass.
Good. I don't ever want to see him in an NFL uniform ever again. He doesn't deserve it.
He's disrespected
he's
the
not
game.
owed it.
Yep.
And if anybody wants to give him help, that's not putting him on your roster and giving him more money and more playing time and more camera time. It is actually behind the scenes taking his stupid butt off camera and addressing the things that are just obvious personality flaws, but deep down addressing whatever it is that is driving this, whether it is a mental disorder, like bipolar, which I'm not going to speak about like I know all the details of what that entails because I don't, but I did see a lot of people who have dealt with bipolar people in their lives who see some signs of that in Antonio Brown. I don't know what that hit dug up maybe deep down inside of him or awoke, but I don't want to see, I'm not a fan of Antonio Brown, but I am a fan of people, and if he can be helped, I hope he gets help.
All right, when we come back, it's 5:30. We'll go back to see what's going on. Some of the discussion in the chat room, which today mainly has been about Caleb Williams entering the transfer portal for Oklahoma, 254-339-1122, and this is Sikkim 365 Radio. If you have any of these three symptoms, you don't sleep the way you used to, you don't have the energy the way you once did, and your sex drive is diminishing and maybe gone, it happens. 1 out of every 3 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone. And Dr. Kent Petty and his staff can help you increase your testosterone levels to get back 1, 2, or all 3 of those symptoms. You may say you're embarrassed about oh my God, your sex drive's not the same. Have you watched television with all the commercials about this now? It happens. It happens in men. It happens as you get older. It's 1 out of every 3 men. And Dr. Kent Petty can help you by getting lab work, by getting you an appointment to get your blood work, and waiving the fee, seeing what your testosterone levels are, and if they're too low, based on what they should be, he can put you in a program to increase your testosterone levels so you can become the high-performance man that you want to be and maybe used to be and need to be. Sleep energy, sex drive. It could be all three. If you're one of those, don't be embarrassed. Get help. PettyClinicLowT.com and tell them Smokey sent you.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
The 2021 Ram brand just received first place in the prestigious J.D. Power's Initial Quality. The Dodge brand finished second to Ram, and the 2021 Jeep Gladiator is rated first among all mid-sized trucks. The Big Finish sales event, only at Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by, let's be friends.
The year is wrapping up, sports bettors, but BetUS still has your NBA, NHL, college football bowls, UFC, PGA, and of course NFL betting lines up for their 27th year. Live betting on all of it. Log in to BetUS.com today. Use our promo codes SICK'em125 for 125% bonus on cash, or SICK'em200 if you use crypto. So use the 3-decade leader, BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'em125 and SICK'em200.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Sometimes we start with a story or 2 or 5. Some stories break while we're on the air, and we've had that happen before. And then we sometimes just keep going and talking about it. And we need to kind of update the story today. Caleb Williams, Oklahoma quarterback, has entered the transfer portal. That's the biggest story today in college football, if not sports.
Absolutely, and he's gonna have every opportunity. There are teams, I saw Max Olson say this, pretty much most of the teams in the country would clear out their quarterback room for Caleb Williams.
No matter who you have.
They would shove the next guy right into the portal because he's that good. But I'm just curious as to what he really wants. Is because I see all these people go, oh, he's trying to get good NIL deals or whatever. Like, that'll come in Oklahoma. That'll come wherever he is. Like the NIL is going to come. If you're one of the best players in college football, and Oklahoma has boosters that can do all that stuff as well. So there's no problem when it comes to finances, I think, keeping Caleb Williams somewhere. So outside of that, then what's he looking for that's not at OU? And if it's just Lincoln Riley now, then we know where it is. He's going to go to USC because it's Lincoln Riley. But if it's something outside of Lincoln Riley, then that's a question that needs to be answered.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very intrigued. Is this really a decision, or has he already made up his mind and he's just, doing the process thing of it would be kind of disrespectful to come out today and say, hey, I'm going to Southern Cal. See you guys. I mean, after all that was said and done. So I don't know. Is he kind of really in the market, or is he already decided and just kind of waiting to see maybe what others may throw at the table? Is he's maybe already decided he's going to return to OU and just, again, listening to offers? Like he said, he can only listen if his name's in the transfer portal, so that does make sense. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to think. Obviously he would thrive in a Jeff Levy offense as long as they're not playing Baylor. But, no, I'm just he would do well. You saw what Matt Corral did, but he would do well anywhere. I mean, it's not like he's a guy who has to play in a certain type of system, in my opinion. He can chunk it. He can run it. Now, he's obviously got a lot of his game that he still needs to develop. He was not anywhere near a perfect product this year. He still has some plenty of rawness to him, actually. He needs some polishing, but, I mean, he's a wealth of talent. Seems like a great teammate as well, and somebody's going to be very fortunate, whether it's Oklahoma bringing him back into the fold, which would be incredible for them to do, an incredible get for Brent Venables. I mean, the biggest story of their offseason by far would be keeping him there. But if not, then yeah, where do you turn if you're Oklahoma, and who gets him? And if it's USC, then drum up the hype machine for next year. That's going to be a team where we're going to hear about regardless, but especially if Caleb Williams goes there. I mean, you're going to start hearing probably top 10 predictions and things like that. It wouldn't surprise me, because of how well thought of he is. But yeah, it's clearly the biggest story. I do think that if you're an Arizona fan, getting Jacob Cowling to return to his home state from UTEP gives you a great receiver going into the next year. You have to be excited about that.
I want to get a trend. You may be able to keep track of this. And I know there's like hundreds and hundreds of names in the transfer portal. How many who transfer in college football come back closer to where they were in the first place after they enter the transfer portal?
Yeah, I don't know. We've talked about that for a while. I don't know that anybody's done that. If they have, I mean, I know there's like a top 25 list or top 5 transfers available. There's a lot of top, guys available lists. I don't know if there's an actual chart, though, that shows who took a step up and who took a step down. I mean, for one, I can think of like 5 guys who left Baylor who all took a step down.
No, not step up or down, where they went back closer to home.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Like Cowling going back to Arizona where he's from.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the case of the guys Baylor brought in, pretty much Hal Presley was one.
Ika's a Utah. Presley's a Texas kid right up the road.
Gall's not from Texas. Who was the other? Drew Estrada's not from. Was he?
Yeah, he is
from Texas. Yeah, so there was one that actually did come back closer to home. Cowling obviously going to Arizona. He's going back home. He's from Maricopa.
And it depends on what Jackson Player does, if he ends up at TCU or at Baylor, whoever it might be, and I don't know yet. Then there's one guy coming back, although Oklahoma's basically just the chimney on top of Texas.
I don't know. I think it's probably 50-50, really. Yeah. I think there's probably some guys who do end up back closer to home. I know Tex picked up some guys, and I mean, it's hard to keep track of, quite frankly. You kind of like have to sit down in front of a list and really go over it, because it's like bullets flying everywhere. But yeah, I'd be curious. I think it's probably closer to 50-50 than like heavy one way or the other, though.
Uncultured Barbarian, thank you. A super chat on the chat room. Happy New Year's, guys. I would love to see Wisconsin. He's a big Wisconsin fan. They did win their bowl game. Open up its checkbook and bring in some SEC staff from successful program to tweak the offense and develop quarterbacks. Love your show. And Uncultured Barbarian, thank you very much for what you said as well.
I'm surprised that... And maybe it's the offensive scheme that they run, but I'm surprised because Wisconsin's usually pretty good year in and year out. And they're good on defense, and they have good offensive linemen, which would lead you to believe that maybe you could get a good quarterback. And Russell Wilson transferred there, and it worked out great for them. But they have not, since Russell Wilson, been able to really hit at that position. I'm surprised they haven't gotten a transfer quarterback there that's flourished.
Tony Price. So
Jack Cohn left, and he had a great game against Oklahoma State for most of it.
500 yards.
Yeah. So
Tony Price, Oklahoma's leaving for the SEC, has lost their head coach and 2 quarterbacks. Best of luck, Sooner fans. I really didn't mean that. Sigh. That he was just, and he made a nice comment about the show. Tony, thank you.
Congrats to Wisconsin as well. I mean, finished 9-4 with the way the season started off. You were 1-3. Kind of had some questions. Now, granted, that a big part of that was the schedule they played early on. They played a very tough opening month. They had 3 top 25 opponents, and those were all 3 losses to Penn State and to Michigan and Notre Dame, but finished really, really strong, had a nice win streak, then had the final regular season loss to Minnesota, but got the win over Arizona State and Las Vegas, so 9-4. You'll take that when you started off 1-3, won't you? I mean, that's a great turnaround. So, yeah, the Badgers got it together, and they looked strong at the end of the year. Graham Mertz was very up and down. I could see why you'd want a transfer quarterback. Can you pull a Spencer Rattler or Caleb Williams at Wisconsin? I don't know. I mean, that remains to be seen, but I think it's all going to boil down to these places. There are going to be some that just location-wise you're not going to be able to beat that. So can you beat them with NIL? That's, if you're a smaller program, I think it just shows you really have, if you're not getting your toes in the NIL water, you better, because that's definitely playing a major role right now and where some of these guys are going, or can be the thing that pushes you over the top in these decisions. But Wisconsin would be a team that I definitely could see trying to grab a guy out of the portal at quarterback.
Before the call, Paul, we mentioned Abram Smith throughout the year. Linebacker, came out of high school from Abilene as a running back, moved to linebacker. He had a record-setting year for Baylor. Uncultured Barbarian brought this up. Running back Braylon Allen. He came into camp as a linebacker, was the number 4 running back, and he ended up being a stud for them. And, hey, that's another great story about a running back. Just wanted to throw that out because he did the super chat.
We also had Barry Moore says, cheers from Australia, so good day.
There you go, buddy.
Hey,
good day.
Thank you. Thanks for listening from Australia. Yeah, man, it's crazy some of the places that people are listening from. That's awesome. The power of YouTube, right?
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's go to Anton on the BetUS caller line. Anton, thanks for your call.
I was just asking about the bowl games. I feel like the Big 12 has had like a much stronger showing than the SEC, and I was just curious what y'all thoughts were with the college football playoffs and like the Big 12 pretty much dominating the SEC head-to-head matchups and bowl games.
Well, they did have some nice wins. Texas Tech won, obviously what Baylor did, but they didn't play Alabama and Georgia. And I know the SEC's bowl record is like, but they have 2 teams playing for the national title. And I'm not going to discount the
Kansas State and LSU tomorrow night's looking really interesting in that LSU is going to probably have to play a wide receiver
40
quarterback.
players or less on their roster right now. Mike Scarborough gave me that little nugget a couple of days ago. Yeah.
And
I still think the SEC is a fantastic conference, but it's not the only conference, and it's not deep top to bottom. In some years, maybe they're deeper than others, but they do have the 2 best teams in the country.
I think the Big 12's style of play, for the most part, when you look at the teams like Oklahoma State and Baylor style travels, it holds up. Kansas State, if they get some maybe better, a little bit better on offense, their style will travel. I mean, so it travels. So I think that's why it works in bowl games, and it also can help, I think, when you have that kind of system with opt-outs, because you're not, losing a whole. I mean, you can lose some talented players, but you can kind of keep things in the well a little bit better when you're not. Reliant so much on offense than you are on defense. So.
I think it just shows that the SEC has got 2 very elite teams, and the rest of them can be beat by anybody just like everybody else, despite the fact that they're the SEC. I think Baylor proved a point against Ole Miss, Matt Corral injury or not. If you're an Ole Miss fan walking away from that game and you don't have some level of respect for Baylor's defense or their physicality or their speed, then I think you're just the homer of all homers, because I think it's impossible to walk away from that game and not have maybe a little bit more respect. I think, too, the biggest problem with the perception of the Big 12 is that there's still a lot of people that think it's like a 7-on-7 conference. Okay, it's bizarre to me how many, media people even are like, wow, look at the defense. It's like, what have you been watching all year? Like, you clearly haven't been, because it's a defensive conference. It's not an offensive conference. If anything, the Big 12 offense is now in the SEC. Of course, that's where I do think that you see a little bit of that media bias, is that it's not talked about as like, well, they're not playing defense. It's not talked about that way at all. But if it was the Big 12 years ago, that's all that was said about it. It's the same thing. But now there's people that still think the Big 12 only plays offense. And I'm like, what offense? They barely play offense. They have all defense.
All you have to do is just look. If you were watching the games and you couldn't, and you're a college football media person or writer, look at the scoreboard and see the Baylor Ole Miss game was 21-7.
There was one game this year, I think, and there may be one or two or three that had a former Big 12 type mentality. Texas 70, Texas Tech 35. Most of the other games, now Oklahoma State, Oklahoma got into
Oregon.
But I'm talking about in the conference. But like Ohio State and Utah just went buzzsaw offense throughout. And no one could stop anybody in that game, but it was classic. It's the same, and that's where you started seeing that happen. It doesn't. Who cares about styles? But I'll tell you this: the Big 12. They're not an offensive conference anymore. Oklahoma's offense eventually was neutered. Texas's offense is neutered. Didn't have sustainability from one half to the next, much less 1 week to the next. Texas Tech wasn't. Now they're about to change with Kitley, so there might be a little bit of a resurgence with that in a way. But no, Big 12, by the way, is 4-2 in the bowl games after the wins on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, they've got wins over Mississippi State and Oregon and Notre Dame and Ole Miss. I mean, that's pretty salty. And 2 top 10 wins with the Oklahoma State and the Baylor wins. And, I mean, K-State should beat LSU, I would think, with LSU's roster the way that it is currently. Now, if they're going head up, I'd probably pick LSU. But, I mean, LSU's roster, again, I mean, you look at their depth chart they released over the weekend.
Talk about somebody who could have opted out of the game.
I mean, the whole team could have opted out, and they practically did, but they got a roster mess to clean up there, and that's why the transfer portal will definitely come in handy for the Tigers. But I think with the Big 12, I think it just hopefully shows the country that they play good defense, and it's not what it was thought to be. And for those who are still talking about it like it was 4 years ago, you're just so out of touch. You don't deserve to be talking about the topic at all, quite frankly. But they're still capable. Oklahoma State can put up points. Oklahoma can put up points. It's just not the shootout ball that we've been accustomed to seeing. Now, that could change a little bit next year.
Yep. It's all about quarterback play as well.
Yeah, and I don't think there was great quarterback play in the Big 12. I mean, look at Baylor. They did not have great quarterback play this year. They did not have great quarterback play on Saturday night. I'm not trying to dig. I'm just saying that was very clear if you watched the game. Oklahoma, they're a question mark now. I mean, obviously, Texas brings in Quinn Ewers, but their quarterback play this year was average at best. K-State was lost without Skylar Thompson. West Virginia and Jarrett Dagey, he's transferring. And
Purdy was erratic.
Purdy.
Spencer Sanders ended up being consistently the better
really good. But, but really, though, would you say he's like one of the best quarterbacks in college football?
No.
He'd be a guy you'd mention eventually.
But I'm happy for him the way he closed out that
I am too. My point is there's not great quarterbacks right now in the league. And I think that's as big a part of the deal as anything, as well as you're hiring Brent Venables and you're hiring Dave Aranda and Chris Kleiman and those types.
Matt Campbell's been a part of it.
Yeah.
The Big Two. Okay, here's the bowl update, then a break. Mountain West 5-1. The American Athletic Conference went 3-1. Sun Belt 3-1. Big 12 4-2 with 2 New Year's 6 wins and 1 game left. Big 10 6-4. The SEC, despite some hickeys, 5-6 and guaranteed that they're going to win and lose in the championship
6 and 7.
Or LSU, they could end up 7-6.
Oh yeah.
Conference USA and MAC 3-5, ACC 2-4. And the Pac-12 0-5, Independence 2-2.
Yeah, and Kliavkoff over at the Pac-12, he's like on the record talking about we have to invest. He's basically calling on all the schools to raise their game to try and fix it. They haven't won a bowl game in 2 years.
He says they have to invest, and they've got some big names there. But if you look in the biggest city that's in that conference, they have 2 schools there. UCLA does not care about athletics like you think they would. They really just don't, and they really have to step it up. USC is just now figuring it out with the Lincoln Riley move. So. When the 2 schools in your biggest city, which would, appear to have the most money behind them, still haven't figured it out. Like, he's going to have to beg for a long time.
It's not that they don't have success in athletics. It's the commitment to athletics. Sometimes it's just that they have. One quick women's basketball note. Baylor dropped to 14, first time in 9 years. They've been out of the top 10. Remember earlier this year, even Geno and UConn dropped out of it. Baylor's 14 after a very disappointing loss on the road to Kansas State. They have Oklahoma and then Texas. This will be interesting to watch. LSU beat A&M yesterday. They're number 13 in the country with Kim Mulkey, the head coach. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. It's finished the year. I know it's January 3rd, but Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, including until tonight they shut their doors, is still offering the discounts and incentives to finish the year, January of 2022. One more day left in what was the holiday surge of what they have available, including the Motor Trend's back-to-back Truck of the Year, Ram truck, and what they have, of course, with J.D. Power, ranked as the number 1 quality vehicle, Ram. Number 2, well, they have Buick, right? Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler, Jeep Ram, Fiat. That's what they have. And right now, Ted T, one more day of the big finish event. And then tomorrow they start, of course, something new as we kick off 2022. Allen Samuels, right now, the number 1 truck quality by J.D. Powers is Ram. And the other, of course, Motor Trend Truck of the Year in back-to-back years. Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
American Bank has been serving Waco since 1952, and we're just getting started. Hi, I'm President and CEO Dana Hassel. Over the past few years, we've been busy investing in new technology to give you the best banking experience possible. We've also expanded our downtown branch and built 2 state-of-the-art buildings at our Woodway and Bellmead locations. With bright open lobbies, plus fast, personal, interactive teller machines, everyone in Waco is now just minutes away from face-to-face banking. Visit us today and see how we're invested in serving you at American Bank. Member FDIC.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financials, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Brad, what makes you different than anyone else, in your opinion, as far as what Boozer's does?
The fact that I own the jewelry store, anything I need to do, will do, or can do, I can do it. The buck stops with me, whereas a lot of places you have to go up the corporate command and corporate channel. Well, if you come in and want to make a deal, we sit there and we make the deal.
And you can find whatever someone's looking for, correct?
Anything is obtainable. I don't care what brand it is, what size it is, how much it costs, large or small. Anything is obtainable, and we can definitely get that in for you to see, look at, or buy.
Do you have the opportunity if people have to pay things off as far as a layaway program? What about what you have with financing?
Absolutely. We have 12-month no interest financing. We have layaway. If you want to pay with Bitcoin, I can take Bitcoin now. So if there's any way you want to pay for it, we can find a way out to make it work.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, wants to get you back in the game.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon.
Whoop.
What happened there?
Here we go. Well, we lost it.
Firmware thing's got to happen there, Armstrong. Just saying. Top 5 at 5:55 brought to you by Champion Salon and Barber. For more information, go to championsalonandbarber.com. I just booked my appointment to get my coiffure and my beard in order.
It's your hair.
My hair?
Yeah, your coiffure, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
By the way, remember that humidity did not do you any good.
No, it did not. It did not.
Did you ever notice it?
Oh, hell yeah, I noticed it. Okay. I mean, more product every day. I mean, look, I'm going to have to buy a new, $40 jar of stuff to keep it under control.
Because it lost its thing.
Yeah, it didn't have any. It didn't pop in New Orleans because it was humid like it was June 7th.
It was very limp.
Yeah. I need some hair Viagra. All right, number 5. Okay, sorry. This is top 5 questions for Baylor in the offseason. Can you develop wide receivers? Because we don't know about R.J. Sneed, but wasn't a factor half the season, R.J. Sneed. He's a good player, and if he comes back, that's great. But I don't know if he's coming back. Drew Estrada's gone. And after that, you've got Monterey Baldwin, you got Hal Presley, some guys who've seen a little bit of time. But
and there's young guys that just really, Jalen Ellis and
Jackson Gleason.
And Seth Jones all have to step up.
Holmes, and there's a lot of young players that have been hit with some unfortunate things as well. But they need. With Gibson now, there's a guy, he's a pretty good player. I like him a lot. He and Monterey Baldwin.
Well, I mean, he's the same thing as those other guys we just mentioned. He hasn't done anything yet. Yeah. I mean, they like him, but that's great. They like Jackson Gleason.
Maybe there's a transfer.
Maybe. But to Paul's point, to wide receiver is a question mark because you really only have, I guess, the little bit you've seen of Hal Presley. But, obviously Tyquan is gone. That's a major loss. We'll see on R.J. Sneed. I mean, he would be a great addition to have coming back next year. He'd be the anchor of the receiving corps just as a veteran. But, they don't have a lot proven at wide receiver. Monterey Baldwin, you can get excited about him now, but is he a guy who every game can go and get you 2 or 3 catches? We don't know that yet. He has not proven that ability. So, sure, if you're a transfer wide receiver, I think you might be getting a phone call from Baylor. But if you're one of those young guys on campus, you have a tremendous opportunity because there's plenty of playing time to go around.
Yeah, it's wide open. Number 4, offensive line saw a huge jump from last year to this year. Can they be even better? I mean, I know they're going to lose, a couple guys, but
I think a lot of them are coming back. I think that might be something that surprises us. I think some of them are going to come back for another year.
Yeah,
just my thought.
Yeah, but I mean, they might lose a couple guys, but can they be better knowing what they did and building on success?
You know why the answer is yes? Because of Eric freaking Mateos.
Yeah. So I mean, I think this is all of a sudden going to go from what was a maybe. Not a decade-long weakness, but it was getting close to that.
Well, I mean, Briles' offense has had some great offense.
When was his last team? It was 2015.
But from 2015 on, 6 years. So
16, they won
But look, and I say this because in 15, Bryles knew that the offensive line was not going to have the depth. They played okay, but it was not the strength of their team anymore like it had been.
But they did run for 900 yards in a bowl game against North Carolina with that offensive line.
They did.
But that was the last great offensive line. That was 2015. 2016 was good enough to win their first 6 games and then completely tank the rest of the way and then win a bowl game to feel good about the way that they exited. But after that, Matt Rule, it was constantly a work in progress. It was never really that good. Even when they made the Sugar Bowl 3 years ago, that offensive line, all due respect to Sam Tecklenburg and those guys, but they were by no means dominant. They were not a team that could force the run on you. They were a team that just hoped they could run the ball. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I mean, this year, Erica Mateos deserves a raise this year based on the results and how quickly they came. I know the scheme change also helped, but the real change was the weight room, the mentality, the buy-in, the belief, and the camaraderie. And they had all those pieces this year, and I think they have every reason to believe they can continue that, especially if some guys come back. But I'm not worried about the offensive line at the very top of the list like I was the last 6 seasons.
No.
I mean,
and that's why this was a very positive question. Is like, can this offense really get better?
Can they just move somebody? And here's BU Bear on your deal. Mateos deserves all the praise in the world. Remarkable turnaround on the offensive line, just remarkable.
Yeah.
He's right.
All right, number 3. Are the young running backs ready to step in? We've seen a little bit of some of these guys. We've seen a little bit of Tay McWilliams. We've seen a little bit of Squirrel. We've seen a little bit. And I know there's some freshmen in there too that we haven't seen at all yet. And this is an offense that allows most running backs to flourish. But are you ready to step in and carry the load? The wide zone offense allows you to be interchangeable. It's the Shanahan offense. It just you can do that. But can these guys step in and be ready to go?
Yeah, I mean, and Tristan Edmer probably doesn't get enough love when talking about the running backs being replaced. I mean, I think he's a guy who kind of is almost under the radar somehow or another, even though he's been a star for the team for 5 years. I know the numbers aren't necessarily like star-worthy, but, I mean, he made a big couple runs on Saturday night.
A couple conversions that really took – the 2 conversions he made were the ones that Ole Miss, the first one was, okay, well, plan A on coming back in this game's out because we're not going to get the ball back for another 2.5 minutes. And then the second one was, well, that's it.
Yeah, and when you watch back the Monterey Baldwin touchdown as well, I mean, you talk about what was Ole Miss focused on. They were focused on Abram Smith. Everybody went with him 1,000
times.
Everybody went with him, and they didn't know Monterey Baldwin had the ball and was already behind their defense until he already had the ball and was behind their defense.
There were 3 to 5 players on the Ole Miss defense, from linebackers, safeties, who were flowing to the play like you're supposed to, and did not realize until Monterey Baldwin. I didn't realize it. He was so fast out of I thought it was Squirrel Williams who was in for one play because of the speed we saw from him back when he was younger.
Well,
it was incredibly well designed, but executed as well.
Well, and you have to give Monterey a lot of credit because there's certain guys who would have gotten that ball, and I could see where they would have bounced it outside and, given themselves 10 yards less of running room, and instead he cut up like he's supposed to and like he's coached to, and that's why nobody knew he even had the ball. But is Squirrel Williams available? Is he going to be one of the young running backs? That's another question mark. Tay McWilliams, I know they like him, but to me, I'm looking at Jordan Jenkins. I'm looking at Richard Reese coming in.
Yep.
And I think those 2 guys are 2 guys you look at and they're like, hey, playing time's there. But I also look at McWilliams and Craig Williams and a couple of the others and say, all right, guys, it's y'all's time now. But there's some big shoes to fill.
When Tay did get the ball on a handful of occasions very early in the year, I like what I saw. He's a banger. Yeah. And Jordan Jenkins is an incredible player in high school. We'll see if it carries over.
Yeah. Number 2, who replaces the defensive stars?
Yeah.
And, look, JT Woods may not often get mentioned in this category with Terrell Bernard and Jalen Petrie, who are the stars, but the guy's a turnover machine. He absolutely creates turnovers. He is going to get an NFL look regardless of his 40 time because he can catch the ball when it's floating in the air.
Yep.
And
also because he's 6'2" and 180 pounds and or 185 or whatever he is, and he's playing in an all-star game. So he's definitely on the NFL radar, and that's a guy Matt Rule would have told you from day one is going to be an NFL type of guy. But, I look at Matt Jones, however they use him. He could be used in some ways to help replace. Dylan Doyle probably moves to middle line. I don't know who moves to middle linebacker to replace Terrell Bernard, but I know they like Lorando Johnson a lot in terms of, the secondary. But there's again big shoes to fill. That's why they won 12 games and won the Sugar Bowl in the Big 12 was because they had so many veterans.
How about Bryson Jackson or someone like young kids that started making
Bryson
plays?
Jackson's a senior.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I thought he had a year left. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, he might have a year left, but he's a veteran player. And I think he can come back because of COVID year. And number one, and I think we know the answer to this question, really, if we're honest about it. But who's your QB in 2022? And I mean, I think Blake Shapen is probably going to be the guy. I don't mean to toot my own horn, but after the spring, I thought that he was the one who had the most potential of the guys that we saw right away. Now, we haven't seen very much of Kyron Jones, who's probably the best overall athlete of the bunch when it comes to the quarterbacks. But I think next year it's probably Blake Shapen, and because he gives you the best chance to be a little more wide open in the offense.
My only question is when they announce that, not if. I would be totally shocked if it's not Blake Shapen starting the quarterback next year. All due respect to Gary, but he was still hurt, clearly. But, I mean, I don't think that was also that far off from some of his play anyways, quite frankly, even before he got hurt. Some of just that, not enough touch or too much touch, not enough force, too much force. And, he eventually was able to make a couple throws that he needed to make, but I know a lot of things were factoring in, but, I mean, seeing what the offense did with Blake Shapen, it's hard not to look at that and go, yeah, that's probably the direction they're going to go now moving forward.
All right, good stuff. For Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina, Jack McKenzie, working on tomorrow's guest lineup as soon as we close this one out, maybe with another a nice surprise gift or two as a guest. Armstrong Sims, both of those guys drove and back to New Orleans and got back maybe even before Craig and I did when we flew back.
Yeah.
All right, for all of our sponsors,
Armstrong,
all of them.
The hotel called. They need you to come back. Yeah, you left something. You need to drive back to New Orleans and get back whatever you left. It's like a T-shirt or something like that.
They can keep it.
They can keep it? All right.
Yeah. Thank you again to all of our sponsors, and a lot of them, I've been in touch with them the last few days. Those who were going to be football season, some have extended into our basketball season coverage, and so will our coverage as well. I'm David Smoak. Thank you again for watching and listening and being part of what is our family, you and us. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Good night.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.